As far back as I can remember, I always wanted to be a gangster.
One of the worst performances of my career, and they never doubted it for a second.
We all go a little mad sometimes.
I believe there's a hero in all of us that keeps us honest, gives us strength, makes us noble.
You just gotta keep living, man. Livin.
Son of a bitch. He stole my life.
I love the smell of napalm in the morning.
Welcome back to the Shop by Shop podcast. We have a special episode for you today. I'm sure all of you listening at home have some times where someone gives you a hot take, makes your blood boil, or maybe you have a take that everyone gives you shit for or that you're too scared to say yourself. So we've decided to dedicate an entire episode to hot takes. So we have, please welcome on none other than the one and only Alex Azor from the Escape Pod podcast, also known as Hat Guy. You may recognize him from some very hot takes on the internet. So, Alex, welcome on. Why don't you introduce yourself?
Hi, everybody. My name's Alex. A lot of people know me as Hat Guy. Like you said, I'm one of the co-hosts of the Escape Pod podcast, and I yell at a buddy of mine about Spiderman for a living. It's a pretty cool gig. But yeah, that's me.
And you might also recognize the bottom right corner. We have Cash the Butcher from the Film Scoop podcast, another good friend of ours. Oscar could not be with us today because he couldn't be. It would be entertaining because I think Oscar and Hat Guy agree with just about nothing of each other's takes, so that could have been pretty funny. But Cash, why don't you introduce yourself in case they haven't seen your podcast or the prior episode you did with us?
Yep. My name's Cash. Happy to be here. This is like my third time on the show, I think. And I have a podcast called The Film Scoop, upload every week. I also have a podcast that I have the co-host that I like to yell at a lot and call him stupid. So, go check that out if you want, and ready to get into some hot takes.
It's nice to have you both on. We've been shouting about each other about Spider-Man a lot the last couple of weeks. So excited to get into it again.
Yes, we have. So to start us off, we're going to do a collaborative ranking of films of this decade, the 2020s, where we're going to go 16-1 random order, and we each get one veto, so we get to cancel out one pick from someone else. So, Ryan, do we have an order?
It is Cash, and then Alex, then Hat Guy Alex, and then the other Alex, and then me.
Sounds good. So, Cash, you are on the clock with pick number 16.
So, what am I doing? What am I doing here?
You're choosing the 16th best film of the decade right now.
Oh, okay.
And you're going to have 4 picks total.
Sheesh.
I thought it was no specific order. We are ranking it like this pick would be the 16th best.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes,
So the 16th best. Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, that's.
And then you'd be 15th.
Okay, so I'm gonna go with Tenet.
It's a good pick.
I love that.
Maybe a little low, to be honest, but I need it there.
I love that.
I am a fan of that as well. Hat Guy, you are on the clock.
Frig. I think I've got it. Okay. I don't want to say that. None of you have seen Transformers 1 yet, right?
I have not.
No, it's not out yet.
I'm telling you, it's that good. I won't include it here because none of y'all have seen it. It's like one of the best of the year. It's one of the best movies of the 2020s. It's that good. It's easily the best Transformers movie of all time. Like, I hate the designs. Everything else about it is like a masterful film. Like, it is into the Spider-Verse level moments. Like, it's unbelievable. I couldn't believe how good it was. Give me Top Gun Maverick at 15.
It's a good pick.
I like that.
Glad it's on the board.
Number 14, I'm going to go Asteroid City by Wes Anderson from last year.
All right.
Anybody want to veto that one?
What do you pick? I didn't hear it.
Asteroid City.
Asteroid City.
Oh, I liked Asteroid. I liked Asteroid City. I give it 8.
You can get rid of it if you want.
something dumb might come up, so I'll keep my veto.
There's going to be worse. But no,
not my favorite of West, but it's good. I like the at its heart, like what it is saying most.
Right.
Yeah.
More than like the actual movie. If that makes sense.
Number 14. I'm going to go with Paul Thomas Anderson's Licorice Pizza. Dynamite.
Now I'll be using my veto.
That's your
yeah.
That's
fuck Licorice Pizza.
I did not think that was going to get vetoed.
Yeah. All you had to say was PTA, and my veto's getting used.
Oh, I forgot you were a PTA hater.
Yep. I don't think there's going to be anything else either that I like passionately don't like very much. So I'll use it on that.
I'll see. Do I need
Sorry,
to
Alex.
something that you like? Now, I'm going to go with, all right, give me Nightmare Alley then. Guillermo del Toro, Bradley Cooper. I think it's subtly film on rewatch.
It's not much better, but
it's not bad at all.
I haven't seen it, so I can't use my veto. But like, I heard that was awful.
I think it gets better every single rewatch. I think it's a bit slow on a first watch, but it's like a perfect modern noir movie, and it's better in black and white.
How many times have you seen it?
4, all in theaters.
What the fuck?
I'm not going to veto it, but it should not be anywhere near the top 20.
It's the best Del Toro movie.
That's wild.
I know that my next pick is getting vetoed. This is a problem. Who's that? I'm not next.
No, Cash is up with, what would it be now? What pick are we on?
13?
13.
13.
Then I'm 12, 11, 10, and then...
I'm just gonna start taking stuff that I need on the list, even if it's a little lower than I would want. I just got to make sure it gets on there, and I'm not sure if people are gonna take it, so I'm gonna go with John Wick Chapter 4.
Wow,
best action movie of all
like
time. That and Fury Road.
Fury Road is not the best.
Over Terminator 2, my friend.
Thank you.
Terminator
that's like
2
number
is
3.
the correct answer.
Terminator
T2
2
is
is the
number
correct
3.
answer.
I love them all. They're all masterpieces, but give me John Wick 4.
Okay. All right. Shit. Okay. You know what? I don't think it's going to be picked by. Oh, I can't. You guys are going to veto this, so I'm just going to say it. Give me Spider-Man: No Way Home.
I'm not vetoing that at all.
Oh,
I don't have a veto, and even if I did, I wouldn't veto that.
Oh, fabulous! Oh, I'm thrilled.
Yeah.
I'm thrilled. Oh, okay. I've got my next 2. We're good. We've won.
Yeah.
We're winning.
no.
Here. Okay, we're good.
Okay.
I'm a No Way Home defender still.
Yeah. My guy Tobey's in it, so I'll let you have it.
Tobey Tech.
That's going to be a fun conversation later.
You're up, right, Ryan? Oh, Alex?
No, it's
Oh,
Alex.
wait, not. Well, Ryan's up.
Okay.
Is it me?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I forgot. Yeah, so I'll be going for one that you definitely won't have. I think any of yous, because I'm going to go for Scorsese's Killers of the Flower Moon.
Oh, wow. We're getting into this
Veto.
already.
Veto.
I knew that
No.
was coming.
Sorry. I do
Come on, let me
that,
have that.
but no. Like, no.
You can't veto Killers of the Flower Moon. Come on.
Dude, you knew he was
So
going to veto
long.
that.
It's so long. It's just way too long.
Yeah, it's so good.
Ryan, this is a movie ranking, not a sleeping pill ranking. I think you got
Damn.
mixed up.
Slander. The slander.
Is it
Jesse
actually getting
Plemons, though.
vetoed?
So I believe so.
Okay. I'll swap it out for then a Best Picture winner for Everything Everywhere All at Once.
All right.
Cool. Yeah. Good pick. Yep.
See, I think all my top 5 is going to get in. So, like, I don't know if I want to take one of them this low. Do I just take Mank and piss everyone off?
No.
I'll veto that if you go for that.
Thank
There's
God.
no way.
And I would get all the vetoes off the board. See, I want to get this on the board, but it like hurts me to make it this low. But I don't know if Cash would take it. Hack, I definitely won't. I think Ryan has other priorities, so give me After Sun.
Oh,
I would have taken that.
Oh, yes! Paul Mescal, my goat. I actually haven't seen After Sun yet, but I love Normal People. I have to get around to it.
He's one of the best.
Yeah, you need to watch that.
Oh, he's incredible. Him and that show made me fall in love with Daisy Edgar Jones. In my opinion, she can do no wrong. However, I did hear Crawdads was awful, so I didn't see that.
Yeah, you definitely got to watch
Me neither.
One of the best of the decade.
Mm-hmm. That's what I've heard. No, I've definitely no qualms with that. Everybody tells me it's amazing.
All right. If we're good connection-wise for now, then Cash is up.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I think I'm pretty safe with most of my favorites in terms of y'all picking them, so I'm going to take The Holdovers.
I like that. That's up there for me.
I'm not gonna.
Oh, I should have saved my veto. I like Killers.
You don't like the
You don't like The Holdovers?
I think Holdovers is awful. I do not get it.
Do you hate Christmas?
No.
I thought it was more boring than Killers of the Flower Moon. And Killers of the Flower Moon is double the length.
Oh
I
my
don't
God.
get it at all. I don't get it at all. I don't. I'm sorry. Like I don't. Like, and so many people are like, that movie's amazing. It's the best Christmas movie ever. Da this and that. Nothing. I got nothing from it. I didn't like any of the characters. I don't get it at all. I'm happy for him.
It's not the most original thing. Like it feels a little familiar, but I just feel like it's so well done. I've seen it 3 times now, and I'm
not
watching it again this
exactly
year.
the originality police. My favorite movie of this year is Alien Romulus. I'm not exactly a originality guy, but it's my turn, so I'll go Alien Romulus. Is anybody videoing that? I don't know if we have gone
For one of us
creationers here. I would totally understand. I have a couple things left if y'all veto that.
I'll veto it. I think it's the second worst in the Alien franchise.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
I can't have that.
I understand it. I do understand the Prometheus and Covenant lovers that are like, you didn't continue with that series. I totally understand that because it's something I get a lot of hate for as well, because I'm a big Cars 2 defender, and I won't watch Cars 3 because it's not a continuation of that franchise. So just like, exactly, I completely understand the film bros that love Covenant and love Prometheus, because I love Cars 2, and they didn't continue that story, and I was butthurt, and I won't watch Cars 3. So you were butthurt, and you didn't like Romulus. I understand. I think Romulus is incredible. And I may be a little bit biased considering it was made by my close personal friend, Fede Alvarez. Just kidding. He just supposed to be on Instagram. Shit. I think I'm pretty safe with every other favorite of mine that I think is going to be picked. Has everybody used their vetoes?
I still have one.
Shit. Yeah, I know all my others are going to get picked, I think. I just give me Godzilla -1.
It's a great pick.
Great pick.
Like that.
Yeah, I wasn't sure if that was going to get chosen. So.
For the record, I don't hate Romulus. It's just I love pretty much all of the Alien movies. So like even the worst ones I don't hate.
It's all good. I just like, for me, like, it's I saw that tweet where it was like, Romulus is for Aliens fans and like not Alien fans, and I do love Alien, but I definitely prefer Aliens. And like for me, it was like exactly what I wanted from that franchise. And I know we talk about it a million times, but the last 20 minutes, I think at the end of the day, the Alien franchise to me is best when it's at its core. I don't like whether it's sci-fi, horror, or action, or like this psychological thriller, whatever you want the Alien franchise to be. For me, it's at its best when it's a strong, in-your-face allegory for sexual violence. And in my opinion, Romulus does the sexual violence thing better than any movie has since Alien or Aliens, in my opinion. And that's what I love most about it.
There's some imagery in Romulus that is disgusting. Like, thinking about the implication of it, it's gross.
Yeah.
I'm a Romulus defender. Romulus, it does way more well than it does bad. There's a couple things I don't like about it, but it's really good.
I don't like that Alien like fans get put in these groups of like prequels and Aliens or Alien. Like, just enjoy them; they're all good. There's
They're
not
not
really
all
much
good.
messes in the franchise.
That's fair.
I think
They're
it's
not all good.
one of the better horror franchises. Yeah, I just had high expectations because Fede Alvarez, his Evil Dead remake is one of my favorite horror movies. So I was just a bit disappointed, but I still liked it. It was a good movie.
All right. I have once again successfully finessed the entire draft. There are no vetoes on the board left. So I think it's time to make my pick.
No.
And I'll just throw this on to make my pick.
Where are we going here? Oh no.
Sonic the Hedgehog 2 is in our top 10. And there's nothing any of you can do about it.
This was your master
He
plan
loves
the
the
whole
Sonic
time.
movies. Oh my god.
Once again, I've successfully finessed
You know
the
what?
entire
Like, obviously, it does not belong on this list, but I did have an absolute blast with Sonic 2. The wedding side plot with the girl, the sister, is hilarious. I don't care what anybody else says. When they're like, you're all undercover, and then it's like the priest, and he's like, you're undercover, and he just opens the Bible, it's a gun. That's hilarious. When she runs over the guy with the golf cart, hilarious. So I'm happy with this pick. That's hilarious.
I gotta be honest, your reaction, I thought you were gonna be a hater. Because I haven't really seen you discuss it one way or another on the pod, so.
Andrew is the Sonic hater. He hates those movies. I think they're fun.
I am a diehard Sonic fan from childhood, so I'm a huge defender. I think it was so accurate to the games, and Jim Carrey is the most perfect Dr. Robotnik we could have ever gotten. So, congrats. Sonic 2 is in the top 10.
Wow.
I'm so scared of what's coming now.
Wow. I really shouldn't have vetoed Killers of the Flower Moon.
Yeah. I'm regretting my veto now.
I'm such an asshole.
I haven't even seen Sonic 2 and I want to veto it. It just shouldn't be on
It's
there.
actually really fun, but I don't think it's as good as I would take Mario over it. I think Mario's more fun.
See, I'm a bigger
That's probably
Sonic
coming
fan,
next.
but I do
No.
have to pick. Let's not forget that.
See, I had all these movies I haven't taken yet because I thought y'all were going to be smart and take them for me. And now I've realized that's not happening because we're taking Sonic 2.
Correct.
So I'm just going to have to start getting the important stuff out. So am I up?
You are
this
up.
is your last pick, right?
I believe
Is it?
so, yes. Yep.
Yeah. This is 4.
This is the final round.
Okay.
So you gotta
Well,
pick your
in that
favorite.
case, who picks last? Who's picking the first movie?
That would be me.
Okay, I'm taking the Batman. I'm not letting Alex fuck me over here. I don't want.
Alex.
And
I don't want to leave it for someone else to take, and then he takes Mario, and then the Batman's not on the list. So I'm taking the Batman.
I knew you would do the right thing.
That you got the Batman on this list.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel the same way, so I just got to get it out of the way. I just have to hope that one of these two picks Avatar, so I'm taking Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse.
You do have a James Cameron super fan up next.
Yep. That is a great game plan because I am taking Avatar 2 because it's the greatest blockbuster of the decade. So that's what I'll be going for. It was a great game plan to
What'd
not
you
take
pick?
Avatar. Avatar.
Excellent! Let's go! Phenomenal! Oh, we won! Oh, I'm thrilled. This guy could fucking pick, I don't know, the Emoji Movie. I don't give a fuck. We won. He's already established himself as an idiot for picking Sonic.
Dude, if you thought that's bad, you're about to be praying for the Emoji Movie.
Oh God.
Because I am not taking Super Mario Brothers. I am taking the one, the only. Cash and Ryan should know what I'm taking. The masterpiece of masterpieces from the greatest director of all time, our Lord and Savior, Give me Jeff Prophet's Queen of the Trap House 2. Just look it up. Just look it up.
Why? Just why? Why have you ruined this
I
draft?
was thinking take Babylon, but I'm like, you know what? I have a golden opportunity here.
I can't believe you've done this.
This is a 2.8 out of 10 on IMDb.
It has about like 30 logs on Letterboxd.
Oppenheimer is not on our list.
Or Dune 2 or Babylon.
Wow.
Yeah, I made a mistake. I thought those would get taken. That's why I took the holdovers. I didn't know I had to take every good movie for you guys.
I know.
I'm pretty happy with my list. I've got Top Gun Maverick. I can't remember my third one, and then I've got Godzilla -1 and Spider-Verse. Who's my other one?
You took Romulus.
Yeah.
No,
I
yeah, but you got vetoed.
Yeah.
You got vetoed. So what I pick in its place?
Oh,
is it not Godzilla?
I didn't only pick.
Nobody was writing these down.
Oh, No Way Home. Oh, No Way Home. I'm
Okay.
thrilled with my list. Okay. So Spider-Verse, -1, No Way Home, and freaking Top Gun Maverick. Oh, I'm pumped.
Yeah, all our picks are good.
I'll tell you this: I
from
certainly
Alex
won the
ruining it.
No, I'm
Yeah.
going to change mine to Babylon. I'll be realistic here. Babylon's the best movie of the decade.
Oh,
Okay, good. That's wrong, but it's better than Jeff Prophet.
It's correct.
I haven't seen Babylon. I love La La Land and I love Whiplash more, but all I've heard is that it's going to ruin my idea of Damien Chazelle.
No, it's the best.
No, it's just as good.
It's his best movie. And I know
So you have
right now, but
so you have Babylon over Oppenheimer and both Dunes.
yes, but I have all of them in the top 5.
Shame.
Yeah, Sam.
What a disaster of a list.
You're welcome.
I also didn't take Perfect Days because I thought you were going to take it, Alex. So now I regret that, not taking that too.
It was in consideration.
All right.
Well, now that we've pissed off your entire viewership, and I'm going to get a couple of extra angry DMs this month. What are we moving on to? We're moving on to agree or disagree.
We are moving on to agree or disagree. So does everyone have something red or something green?
Give me a second.
All right, let's start with first one. The 2020s is already a better film decade than the 2010s. Three, two, one.
Oh, he actually has a
Interesting.
sick.
Can I before you say it, I want to give this caveat, okay? So already I think is a little disrespectful. We're 4 years into it. To say that is a little questionable. I do think we've gotten some unbelievable movies in the last 4 years, though. Like, I'm not saying it won't be a better decade, and maybe it is already a better decade, but this is the number one thing I wanted to say. How old is everybody here?
I'm 26.
26?
24.
24.
24. 24. And I'm 24, okay? We were 10, 11, 12 to 20-ish, 21, 22 in this decade. We were growing up. We didn't appreciate film the way that we currently do. We didn't appreciate nuances and storytelling the way that we currently do, et cetera, et cetera. So yes, looking back on it, we look at the biggest movies of the previous decade, and it's a lot of MCU, it's a lot of Star Wars sequels, it's a lot of remakes and reboots and soft reboots and remakes and this and that. That's what we're thinking about right now, but that's what we were watching when we were 16. My defense of the 2010s is, for every single, Force Awakens, there is a Zero Dark 30 or a Social Network or a Toy Story 3 that we're just kind of forgetting right now because we were growing up and maybe we didn't watch those films at the time, or we still haven't gone back and watched those films, is I think we're disrespecting the 2010s a little bit here. The 2010s, I mean, shit. At the start of the 2010s, you get The Social Network, you get Zero Dark 30. I'm a big fan of, obviously, you know, I'm an MCU guy, so I'm a big fan of the Avengers. But then at the end of that decade, you got Parasite and a bunch of other great films. You know, we got Park Chan-wook's The Handmaiden in that decade. You know, we've gotten some phenomenal films in the 2010s that we're kind of just forgetting. And I just wanted to say that. That's why I disagree.
I think that's a great point, honestly. I think you bring up a really good point because you're right. We were growing up. We didn't appreciate. My counter argument to that is the fact that I would still take, I wasn't even born I was a kid for the beginning of the 2010s. I wasn't even born yet in the 80s. I wasn't born in the 70s. And I still think those decades are better than the one that we're in right now. I think any film decade you're going to look at and you can list probably 20 to 50 great films in any film decade ever. The reason why I think the 2020s is so much better is because I look at my top 20 already from this decade versus my top 20 from the 2010s, and I think it absolutely already smokes the 2010s. On top of the fact that I think the year of 2019, which is 1 year off from the 2020s, carries the entire decade. Like at least 5 to 7 of my top 20 from the 2010s all come from the year 2019.
Yeah, because Portrait of a Lady on Fire, all those, I'm sure. Was Marriage Story that year? That was a great year. But, okay, my counter-argument to you, and then I'll shut the fuck up, is, excuse me, can I curse on this?
Oh, you can curse as much as you want. We curse all the time.
Great. This is my counter to that is the 80s. You mentioned the 80s. You mentioned the 70s. I don't know if I heard you mention the 90s. It doesn't matter. Those decades, you've been told those are the best movies. So you've gone back and watched those. You lived through the 2010s. There are movies that came out in the 2010s that still haven't been appreciated properly, that in 15 years, people are going to go back and go, oh my gosh, that came out in 2015. That is a masterpiece of a film. Like that, those are the things you're forgetting. That generations after us will hear about the 2010s in the same way that you didn't live through the 80s. You lived through the 2010s, so you think you got it made. You think you're like, oh, I saw everything that mattered in the 2010s. No, you have not. Did Shithouse come in 18 or 20? If Shithouse came in 18...
That was 20.
Okay, yeah, that hurts me. But like there are little films that did really well at festivals, and then nobody else saw anything else. That like... That's the thing is that's my counter argument is like you lived through the 2010. So that's my argument against your 80s 70s argument is like you know what's the best from the 70s because it's been 50 years since then. Right? Those films have gotten the most time to marinate. Versus the 2010s just happened. I guarantee I would bet you by the time you die there are 10 movies, at least, in the 2010s that you haven't seen yet that would be in your top 20 to 30 best movies from the 2010s that you just don't know about because they, you know, the After Sons of the world, you lived through them, but you didn't care because you were 16. That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying.
No, I think you bring up a great point. Now, I totally agree with you. There are definitely probably more than 10 hidden gems that I'll eventually discover that I had no clue about. I totally agree with you there. My thing is that I'm not judging based on the lows of the decade. I'm only judging based on what's the best that this decade produced. And based on what I've seen right now, the 2020s, I do think has produced better movies. In addition to the fact that, yes, the 70s, the 80s, the 90s, there are those movies that they've been time tested. There's been time to discover. But I would also argue that there's still so much from those times that have been forgotten based on the fact that they never got the attention that they didn't. So I think it works both ways is mine, but I'll let Cash and Brian go.
Yeah. That is a fair point. I also bring up that we're living in the age of Letterboxd right now, where you do not miss any hidden gems throughout the year. And I don't know about you, but I've watched like 100 or something, like new releases from like every year, so you do not miss anything. So it's a bit unfair to compare it to 2010. So my agree is like a half and half, but just comparing like 2010 to 2014, I think this decade is better just for those years. 2014 is probably just as good as 2023, but 2022 is better than all of those, I think. Excluding 2020 because it was like a COVID year, so it's not really completely fair to compare. But yeah, again, like Alex was saying, like my top 20 is just as good as my top 20 for the 2010s so far. But yeah, that's a good point because we like consume so much more now that we're in our 20s watching everything that comes out. So yeah, that was a good point.
Yeah, for me, these 2 decades are not even close. Like the 2010s are my favorite decade. Most of my favorite movies are from the 2010s, and I love 70s, 80s movies. But like y'all were saying, you normally go back to those decades and watch what people call classics. So you're picking out the good ones. And like, I just checked my Letterboxd. I have 35 5-stars in the 2010s, and I have 12 in this decade. And that's partly because we're halfway through it, and that's fair. Like, we're off to a great start, and we've had some great movies, especially the Batman, because it's my favorite movie. And considering we will get the Batman Part 2 in this decade, like that could change my mind maybe down the road, depending on how good that is.
Avatar 4, Avatar 5, Avatar 6.
No. Not right now. But yeah, I love the 2010s. Like, first of all, it has the nice guys, so it already won. Like, it's the best decade of all time for that. But like La La Land, Interstellar, Whiplash, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, Blade Runner 2049, Fury Road, Moonlight, like too many to count. It's a phenomenal decade. And could the 2020s be better? Maybe, but it will take all 10 years to possibly be better.
Yes, it's not already the best decade. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yep.
All right, next one. The MCU's biggest problem right now is bad CGI.
Oh.
3, 2, 1, go.
Ooh.
Wow, okay. Why don't you start us off then?
I am a film connoisseur. I would love the MCU to have a good story, do something original, do something creative. But my whole life, the MCU has been taking the best stories from the comic books I read growing up and not doing them quite the justice they deserve, but close enough. And close enough so that general audiences can have their minds blown by things like Captain America, the Winter Soldier. The least you can do is go from page to screen and not have it still look like a cartoon. The MCU has these unbelievably, hilariously big budgets, and the Red Hulk looks so bad. The Smart Hulk looks so bad. The final sequence of Shang-Chi, for me, is unwatchable. Like, it's like, there were, like, and I promise you, this is a hot take, right? There are so many nerds that will tell you that the CGI in the MCU is still good, and they're wrong. The CGI is so important in these movies, and like we just made a video talking about how bad Red Hulk looks. And a lot of people were like commenting like, yeah, they were just supposed to get a real Red Hulk, obviously. Like, why didn't they do that practically? No, just spend more time on the CGI. Your budget is already $300 million. You need to make $1 billion to break even. Spend an extra $100 million and delay the fucking movie. Goodness gracious. Like, it's unacceptable how bad some of these shots are. For the MCU, what are you doing? Yeah, it's by far, the stories. Oh my gosh, the comedy is terrible. The comedy's always been terrible. The stories are unoriginal. They're boring. They're not doing interesting stuff with the characters. They've never been doing interesting stuff with the characters. The most interesting thing about Tony Stark in the comics is he's an alcoholic. They tried that for a movie and a half. Like, they don't actually do things new or interesting or whatever, right? This is a conveyor belt. This is a product. This isn't art. So make sure the product looks fucking good. it's like Lego, right? Lego is so fucking expensive. Well, at least it's amazing, and you get a lot out of playing with Legos and building Legos, and the minifigures have unbelievable printing on them, and you're building it, and you can't even believe it's Lego. Here, this is a Lego Loki from Loki season 1. Look how accurate, look at how detailed. His mug says TVA. Yeah, but this fucking minifigure is $30, right? At least let me get what I'm paying for. The MCU is like not that anymore, and that's a problem. So there you go.
Yeah, I agree it's a problem. I just don't think it's the biggest problem. And I think my biggest problem is actually something you didn't mention. I think this is the first time in movie history where the biggest ever franchises, whether it's the Westerns of the 50s, the Star Warses and the Spielbergs of the 80s, 90s, all those decades. This is the first time in movie history where the biggest franchise movies or biggest movies coming out put no care into their music. Can anyone besides Guardians of the Galaxy name me a recognizable theme in an MCU movie? Like a character theme?
Yes, but I am not the person to do this with, obviously. Like I could do all of them right now, but I will argue.
Talking about score?
It's not as good. It's not as good, but I think the Spider-Man theme is iconic now.
I actually do think that's one of the better ones, but that's also a Sony movie, not a Marvel movie, technically. That theme came from a Sony-produced movie, and it's Michael Giacchino.
Okay, you got me.
I'm not sure if it counts as a theme, but I think Black Panther is the most distinct good score in the MCU that you know right when you hear it exactly what it is.
I totally agree with that. 100%.
Or Avengers Endgame, that was a good score.
Yeah, the Avengers movies have good scores. I think they put care into it. Alan Silvestri does a good job with the Avengers movie scores. But all of the other films, I feel like they put no care into their music, where when you had Steven Spielberg or George Lucas making the biggest movies, that was such a top priority of everything they did. And I think it's one of the major reasons Star Wars still holds up so well today is because that music, which is like Pat Guy probably doesn't know, my philosophy is the top 3 most important things in film are 1 music, 2 music, 3 music. I think it's where all the emotion comes from. I know. I think it's where all the emotion comes from. I think it's the heartbeat of the film. If there's a good film, a good script with characters with no music, it'll make me think, but I don't care at the end of the day. If you want me to care,
Sonic 2 score?
What's up?
How's the Sonic 2 score?
It's my biggest criticism of the movie. I've criticized it extensively, but I love the games because Mario always had better gameplay, but Sonic games always had the best music, which is why I was a bigger Sonic fan than a Mario fan growing up. But I agree, Sonic scores.
I'm going to let everybody finish and say their least favorite things about the MCU right now. I just have to rebuttal you on the music. How much of the argument of like Lucas and Spielberg had better music, how much of that just they had access to a prime John Williams?
And I think that's like you said, you're spending $200 million on the movie. I think it's 100% why.
You're not getting
John Williams.
You're not getting John Williams out of retirement, and John Williams isn't going to make a good score. He hasn't made a good score in 5 years, at least.
You don't need John Williams. You can get Hans Zimmer. You can get Ludwig. Let him.
No, you can't. Like you got Ludwig. You got Ludwig for Black Panther. You can't get Hans Zimmer. Hans Zimmer's overdoing Dune and all those. He's going to tell you, no, I guess I'll give you that one. I don't have time. You're not getting him. Fuck it. No, I'm not giving that to you. And, they've gotten Giacchino for Spider-Man. Now they've got Giacchino for Fantastic Four. Have you guys heard that score yet?
Yeah, I have not.
I've heard it live now 5 times because they played it a bunch at D23, and then I went to this concert, the Marvel Infinity concert. I get a different vibe every single time. Like sometimes it's like old and retro, sometimes it's hopeful. The last time I heard it, I thought it was pretty ominous. It's a really good score by Michael Giacchino, that theme, that Fantastic Four theme. I really like it. But I think this is a fair criticism, but to the masses, I don't think it's nearly as important as CGI, but that's just...
I don't think people are conscious of its importance, but I think it makes a huge difference. I don't think it's something people consciously walk out of a movie and think of, but I think it's night and day in terms of the way people respond to the movie subconsciously. But I'll let everyone else go.
What do you think of, real quick, what do you think of the Spider-Verse score? Daniel Pemberton.
Love it.
It's great.
And they can afford
time
Pemberton.
all-time stuff from Pemberton in those movies.
Across is even better too than
Absolutely.
I agree.
Absolutely.
Yeah. That's why I like Across better.
That score is fun. I'm seeing it. I'm seeing the movie with the accompaniment in like a month.
Oh, it's awesome.
I'm jealous.
We got into the Spider-Verse last year with a live orchestra, but there was a Phillies playoff game, so I missed it, but I wish we could get it again.
Well,
you made the
Also,
right
you say you can't. You say you can't get Hans Zimmer or John Williams, but you have Danny Elfman sitting right there, who has created #1 and #2 best comic book movie scores of all time with Batman and Spider-Man, and he's not even touched the MCU.
Hans Zimmer clears Elfman. I'm sorry.
He does.
Hans is a goat.
Like we said, Hans is off the board. That's a fair point. Hans isn't going to go for the money. He brought up a good point there. You probably can't get Hans Zimmer. That is a good point.
Yeah, but for my reasoning, I'm going to combine both of your reasons behind it, because I think the CGI and the music is a big thing. But there's someone in the MCU that has had no complaints about either of those things, and it's James Gunn. So I think probably the biggest problem is not getting good creatives behind directing the movies, because we have like James Gunn. Those 3 movies are arguably the best 3 movies in the whole of the MCU. Nobody complains about the CGI or the soundtracks and that. In fact, they're some of the best aspects of it. Sam Raimi, Guardians, yeah. Sam Raimi, I like. Guardians 2 is awful. Guardians 2 is the best MCU movie. #1 MCU movie.
Guardians 2 is the worst MCU.
Wait,
it's the #1.
No way. Just for the music, it can't be the worst.
He just said it was the #1.
That's what. Guardians 2?
Wait. Guardians 2 is your #1?
Him and Oscar both say that. I was waiting for that.
Has the most heart. You get the end with him and his dad is so good. I think that's the best scene in the MCU, and the funeral. That's also one of the best scenes.
I have a complicated relationship with my father, so the father stuff doesn't work for me at all. I'll admit that that's a personal bias of mine. But my co-host has a great relationship with his father, and he considers Guardians 3 to be a bottom 3 MCU movie. I think Guardians 2, excuse me. Guardians 2, not a single joke in that movie works, and so much of it is the annoying humor. I think the opening scene with Baby Groot is so annoying. They're shoving Baby Groot down your throat. How are you, Mr. Art, who said that Killers of the Flower Moon is one of the best movies of this decade, that 4-hour snooze fest? How are you going to say that the movie, I think Guardians 2 is corporate greed, the MCU movie. How much they are shoving Baby Groot down your throat. It is awful. I can't believe it. I can't believe it.
I think you should hate Guardians 3 because
boy I've ever seen in an MCU movie.
That's maybe true. That's a fair point. But I think you should hate Guardians 3 if you want to go for corporate greed, because the first 2 are James Gunn's movies, and then Avengers completely ruins his characters without any say from him, and then makes him do a 3rd one where he has to stretch the plot line away from what he wanted to do.
He still made it work,
I prefer the second one. He did, but that's why I prefer the second one.
By the way, I'll now be addressing Ryan as Mr. Art. It's hilarious. But to your point, Alex, music's definitely not my #1 complaint with the MCU. But to your point, I am a big music is one of the most important things in music in movies. And Jordan Peele quoted by saying the only difference between horror and comedy is the music. So I think that's making your point right there of how integral it is. And I've always said that the docking scene in Interstellar is what it is because of Hans Zimmer. And it would have been a good scene, but he made it one of the best scenes I've ever seen in my life because of Hans Zimmer. But the music could be better. I agree there, but I just think that it's quality. It's just they're pumping out too many projects. And back in prime Marvel days, I feel like they were making 2 movies a year, maybe 3. And no shows, nothing, just 2 or 3 movies a year. And some of them were bad, of course, but I just feel like the shows don't really work for me. I just feel like they never really have a story that's worth stretching out over a show. Hopefully Daredevil's the exception, because I love Netflix's Daredevil, and I'm praying they get that one right. Hell yeah. But I think the shows were a bad call, and I just think that it's quality. Like, it's just not, the quality's not the same. And I'm a writing and character guy. Everyone has their thing that they attach, like they care the most about when they watch movies. I'm a story and character guy, and the visuals can be horrible. Like, I think that Guardians 3 with, let's just say it had awful visuals, which it doesn't, but if it had awful visuals, I still think Guardians 3 would be way better than Thor Love and Thunder with amazing visuals. Because that's just how I watch movies, and like, the visuals are a bonus to me. Like, I love how the Batman looks. I think that makes it a better movie, but even without the great visuals, I would have still loved it. So yeah, the visuals and the music, I think, do need to be better, but aren't the most important thing to me, which would just be telling good stories, introducing characters I care about, and stop doing spin-offs. Like, they started doing spin-offs recently with Ironheart, which hasn't come out yet, but I still feel like it's just a bad idea to do spin-off shows. They never really did that in the past. And just give us a live-action X-Men. Like, just get us back on track. Fantastic Four, X-Men, the big stuff, people, Blade. Like, give people what the characters that they like, and stop making us watch, C-list characters that aren't great. Unless you're James Gunn and you can actually make us care about them, which they haven't so far.
The MCU is built on C-list characters, and now Iron Man is one of the biggest superheroes in the world. Like, I remember an era where people didn't know who the fuck Iron Man was. Is he a robot? Is he a man in a suit? Like, they didn't know. Like, and that's how the MCU started. I don't necessarily agree with, like, oh, go away from your, bread and butter, is how I feel like you're talking to Kevin Feige right now. That's how he probably feels. Is like he wants to stick with the C-list characters. That being said, X-Men 97 is the best thing that the MCU has done by a country mile.
If it was in the MCU, it would easily be the best. It's the best Marvel Studios thing.
Anything on Disney Plus that is produced and made by Kevin Feige, as much as it was, that is MCU.
Then I agree.
If What If is MCU, then X-Men 97 is MCU.
That's fair.
I will die on that hill. And people are like, well, no, it's different because it's like actually Mark Ruffalo as the Hulk in What If. Who cares? Mark Ruffalo's Hulk could show up in X-Men 97. Nobody would bat a fucking eye. Yeah, I think X-Men 97 is unbelievable.
Yeah, me too.
Good music.
I think the cartoons are better than a lot.
Great music.
I want to watch it. Like, I haven't got around to it, but I do want to watch it because I'm a huge fan of the animated series from the 90s. So I'm a huge.
Why the fuck haven't you watched it?
Because I don't watch movies at home. Like, I never watch anything at home. So if it's like a show, I just never get around to it.
Oh.
Maybe you're Mr. Art instead of Ryan, because that's crazy.
No, he's Mr. AMC A-list over here. This is an obnoxious amount to go into the movie theaters. Man. Holy balls.
I saw about 400 movies in movie theaters last year.
That's not more than one a day.
Yep, I do a triple header every weekend.
Triple header every weekend does not...
And one a day.
Holy balls, dude. What is your job?
I'm a filmmaker and an editor.
Fuck yeah. All right. We're good.
So you're working. When you're watching movies, you're at work.
Exactly. I'm in there with a notebook.
It's all a backside off.
Yeah.
Yep.
You know what? I can't question you then. Sonic 2 is one of the best movies of the decade. If you're watching 400 movies in theaters a year, you determine that.
And so is Queen of the Trap House.
And Queen of the Trap
Whatever
House.
you say goes.
All right, you're definitely going to take back that statement in a couple minutes because we're getting into the good stuff now. Batman Begins is not a top 5 Batman movie. 3, 2, 1. Oh, sorry. Wait, Ryan, you flipped on me?
Top 5 Batman?
Yeah. Thought it was your 6.
Yeah. No.
Good.
I don't think it is.
Good. Good.
All right.
Good.
Hat Guy, I know that you are a comic book fan. So before I give you my argument, let me ask this. When you're a kid, why do you choose to read comic books over a novel?
This is a good argument. This is a good argument. I'm not even going to answer because it's going to make me look like an idiot. My rebuttal is I watched the Dark Knight trilogy differently than I watch, like, you know. The Dark Knight trilogy is not a comic book trilogy first. And if you go into it wanting it to be, you're doing the wrong thing. That's what I'm going to say. Like that's just what I'm going to say. I love Heat. I love Heat, so I love The Dark Knight, right? It's the same thing. You know what I'm saying? That's how I see those movies. They're action, thrillers, drama. They're very well written. That's what I'm going to say. Like, my favorite Batman is not Bale. It's probably not Bale in second place. My favorite Batman is Ben Affleck's Batman because, for me, other than The Killing, which my favorite comic of all time is The Dark Knight Returns, so that answers that question. Like, on screen, like, it's so perfect for me. Like, the visual, the way he, like, crawls on the ceiling in that one scene, like, it doesn't look human to other humans. When you see him on the recording stealing the kryptonite from Lex Luthor's, this is all Batman v Superman stuff, by the way. He sucks in the Justice League movie, but he's better in the Snyder Cut slightly. But like in Batman v Superman, that Batman is like the perfect Batman for me. Like how he looks, how he acts, the way he's like, oh, I had a little too many drinks, I'm trying to find the bathroom, and then she leaves, and he's like, and then he's back to a detective. Like that's Batman to me, like picture perfect. Like the argument he has with Clark Kent, I like that's Batman. I love it. But oh, I love it so much. But like that's my thing. Is it's like I understand that like Bale is not a comic Batman. That Alfred, Michael Caine's Alfred's not a comic Alfred. Like they're not scheming as much as they should be. No detective work, and the detective work they do in that movie is fucking stupid. I don't care. It's so well written. My favorite scene in that whole trilogy is a hot take, but it is Gordon and Dent in The Dark Knight, and they're just having a conversation, and he's like, I want to meet him. And then Gordon's like, the policy is to arrest the vigilante known as Batman on site. And he's like, I know what you got up there, the light you got. I can't tell you the malfunctioning equipment. Like, that's just well-written dialogue in kind of a supernatural, weird vigilante world. I don't see it as like a comic book movie. So that's fine.
That you touched on my second point, but first I was going to say, because it's not actually as much about comic accuracy as much as why do we read comic books as kids? Not as when we get older, but as kids, why do you choose to read that over a novel? It's because of the pictures. And I always hated to read as a kid. I always liked comic books because of the artwork, because of the pictures. So, and one of my biggest issues with the genre of comic book movies, which applies to the MCU at times too, is that I think too many of them put no care into the images, where I think every image in a comic book movie should be precisely crafted like an actual comic book, which is something I think the Batman did a great job of. And Batman Begins, just about every single image is what we're looking at right now. It's just a shoulders up talking head. I think they put I think if you were to lay out every image of that movie, it would be 80% talking heads, shoulders up, which is my first big criticism. I like your point about, what's it called? It being more of a crime movie than a comic book movie. And I think in terms of that, I think it's the biggest overcorrection from Batman and Robin, where that was the most out there, just crazy movie. So they said, well, what if we did a realistic comic book movie? And it's like, I respect Nolan's attempt. I think it was interesting to try and do that. But I think it proved that comic books are just not that interesting if you try to make them realistic. And I think the fun of them is the way they kind of push reality. And I think when they grounded it to a crime movie, it's just an average crime movie. Like if I want to watch a crime movie, there's a long list of movies I would choose over Batman Begins. So I'll start with that argument. Which, by the way, I'll just say my hot take now, I think is actually the worst Batman movie. I'd rather watch Batman and Robin. Because at least Batman and Robin is fun. When I saw Batman Begins the last time, I was counting the minutes till it ended. And I'm not exaggerating.
There's so many little things in Begins that people don't appreciate. And you're so wrong. You're just so
Like nice
hilarious.
coat.
Like there's just so many. The opening scene with Falcone is incredible. Everything with Cillian Murphy's Dr. Crane, like the Scarecrow, and they do something. Nolan, you may say that he doesn't understand the Batman character. You may say that it's not a comic accurate Batman. You may say that you don't like that every single shot is shoulders up shot. Whatever. You could say all of these things to me right now, and I'll give you all of them. But what you cannot give me is that he understands that Batman villains are just absolutely horny for Batman. And that's something that Batman Begins really fucking pulls off. And when Crane's lair is being invaded by Batman, he's like, he's here. Like, that, oh, they had so much fun making that movie. Oh, it's got all the sauce of an early 2000s superhero movie without all the corniness, in my opinion. I fucking love the writing in that movie. There's so many good. It's a funny Batman movie. You could argue it's the best Bruce Wayne we've ever gotten in terms of like the persona of like, oh, he's a fucking asshole, but in real life he's not an asshole, but he's got to act like an asshole. He does a really good job when he's like, I'm buying this hotel, and
that scene is good. I do like that scene.
The rules about the pool, like that's hilarious. Like that's so good. I love when Alfred picks him up in the private jet after he blows up the League of Shadows because they're bad people or whatever, and then fucking and then he's like, oh, I put everything under your name, so that it's established that Alfred's got all the money. He's like, I'll let you take the Bentley out every once in a while. Like it's funny. It's like got good humor. The writing, I like the one issue I have with Batman Begins, because I don't think it's a perfect movie, but I do think it's the second best live action superhero movie of all time, only behind its sequel, is the action sucks. The action fucking sucks.
Totally agree.
And I will give you that. I will give you that every day of the week. The shaking cam, the 2005 shaky cam, God damn it, Jason Bourne. I love Ultimatum, but like that action movies in that era, like this is the camera. The whole fucking movie. That is frustrating, but I think everything else in that fucking movie bangs, and I think everything else in that movie works almost perfectly. So I'm not giving you that at all. Saying it's the worst Batman movie that's horrendous. Frankly, it's an awful.
I need to make.
It is horrendous.
And then I'll shut up. I need to make just one last point. What's the theme of the movie?
The musical theme or the?
The whole movie is about fear. Fear is definitely the theme. They mention it multiple times. It's all about how his fear is what led him to become Batman. His fear. It's all about his fear, the whole movie. When do we once feel fear in that movie? Scarecrow is one of your villains. I know he's not the main villain. When do we ever feel fear?
Well, we don't, Alex, because we're adults. Yeah, so we're not going to get scared of a Batman movie.
It's also a superhero movie from 2005, right? Like, in that era, if you're not Sam Raimi doing the octopus robots coming to life theme, if you're not doing that scene, you're not doing horror in a superhero movie. That's just not something that you're doing.
So
like
Nolan's not that guy, is what you're saying.
Yeah, Nolan's not that guy either. Like
he's no Sam Raimi.
Yeah, like what are you saying? Oh my gosh. I wonder why I didn't get a real dramatic scene in Sonic 2. I wonder why I didn't cry in that movie. Like, it really, that movie, what the theme of Sonic 2 is? It's all about family. And I didn't really feel like a familial tie. This poor woman, she's finding out her whole life is a lie so that these FBI agents can get closer to Sonic. And I didn't feel the emotional weight of that scene. When she drives over him with the golf cart, I didn't feel like her family and her life was falling apart the way I think I should have. Go fuck yourself.
It's got you there.
That's an insane take, Alex.
But I'll let Ryan and Cash go, because I know Cash is a big defender of this movie.
Great.
Great. Yeah, Batman Begins is my third favorite movie ever. So
oh my god! What a phenomenal take! Holy
I know. I fucking love it. Yeah. I could talk about Batman Begins for hours, so I'll try to keep it keep it short on why I love it, but everything Hat Guy just said, by the way, was spot on. The action fucking sucks. It's horrible. It's shaky cam bullshit. I don't like the color grading just being brown. It's not the best looking compared to the other two.
I prefer the brown to the MCU's gray.
Yes. And brown makes sense for Gotham too. It does make sense for it to be brown, but like the Gotham in The Dark Knight is like heat, and it's like downtown Chicago. It's blue color grading, looks much better. I don't like that Batman lets Ra's al Ghul die, because that's his one rule. They set it up in the movie. He says he's not gonna kill people. Like they go over that in the training, and then he's like, "Well, I don't have to save you." You know, that's killing him. Like what you're doing is letting him die. So I have that small problem, but I think I said earlier, I'm a story and character guy, and I think that the writing and the characters in these movies are so good and basically flawless. Once you get to Rises, there's some stuff I'm not huge on, like the Talia al Ghul stuff, and there's some plot holes, but like I don't really care about plot holes. Like The Dark Knight Rises makes me feel things. It makes me cry. I think that movie is incredible. And Batman Begins, like you were saying, it's funny. There's tons of jokes. I want to borrow it for spelunking. Nice coat. All this stuff that I think is just like super. It's super like lighthearted, and I love that Nolan. Like typically, from what I remember from reading Batman comics, like typically he becomes Batman because he was scared of bats, and that was it. He was like, I'm gonna scare people with what I was afraid of when I was a boy. But in this movie, he also attaches guilt to it because he left the opera with his parent because he was scared of bats. And then that got his parents killed. So not only was he afraid of bats, every time he sees bats now, he thinks of the guilt he has for what he feels like got his parents killed. And I thought that was like one of the best things.
And that's Nolan added. That's new.
Yeah.
That's not from any book that I know of, at least. It really good stuff.
Right, yeah. It's a small
scary scene too,
like,
isn't it? When he sees the bats in the opera.
Oh yeah. Yeah. And like I feel like that adds so many layers to it. And I just think it's like I think Ra's al Ghul's very slept on. I feel like he has great performance by Liam Neeson, great motivations. Like I know exactly what he's doing and why he's doing it. And the training scene, like the first hour of Batman Begins is perfect. Not that it gets unperfect later, but like the transition, it's the best origin story of any superhero easily. Like it's so perfect in the way Nolan tells it out of order. And like, I think it's genius. So
it's so good. And
y'all
came out in 2005.
Yep.
2005.
Yep.
Oh, masterpiece.
And the shot in the cave with all the bats swirling around him. Yeah, no worries. The shot in the cave with all the bats swirling around him, like Hans Zimmer's music ramping up. Like there's so many moments in Batman Begins when they're on the island. I think it's the Narrows, and they're calling for backup, and he's like, "We don't have any backup." And then you see Batman shoot in and land on the island, like full body chills. That's the coolest shit I've ever seen. So, yeah, Ryan, you can give your opinion on it, but I think it's so fucking good, and it's so slept on, and better than The Dark Knight. My ranking of the trilogy, it's my favorite trilogy. It's some of my favorite shit of all time, but for me, it goes Begins, Rises, Dark Knight.
I do disagree. You think Dark Knight's the worst?
I love it, but yeah, I do.
Well, that's wrong. I love you for loving Begins as much as you do. No, for me, it's Dark Knight, Begins, huge gap, Rises. I still think Rises is an 8 out of 10, but it does, like you said, it's a little messy. It's got some problems. And I don't think Begins has those problems. Begins is like a perfect movie other than the fight sequences. And Dark Knight is a perfect movie to me.
I do agree. I think The Dark Knight is a perfect movie. And the people who think it's the best movie ever made, even, like, I get it. It's pretty much a flawless movie. But I'm such a Batman fan. Like, he's my favorite character in fiction. So I love the character. And it's the one movie where he sort of takes a back seat. And I feel like Begins and Rises are so Batman and Bruce Wayne focused And also, The Dark Knight doesn't have the Batcave. He's in a penthouse the whole time, which like is something you may not even like really think about when you're watching it. You're just used to seeing The Dark Knight, and his penthouse is fucking sick. But it's like when Rises starts and you see the Batcave again, it's like we're fucking back. Like this is what I was missing with The Dark Knight. It felt like Batman Begins is a great Batman movie. Then Nolan took a detour and made a Heat remake, and then went back to making a Batman movie with Rises. And it's a great Heat remake. Like it's awesome, but it's like that's why I don't like it as much.
It's Heat with Batman again. Like I don't watch these movies. If I watch these movies because like Batman is my favorite superhero, but like if I watch these movies like expecting it to be a great Batman story, like even with all three of them, I think they fall flat of being like a great representation of Batman. I've got a good friend of mine, Connor, and we had him on the podcast, and he said the Dark Knight trilogy has done irreparable damage to the character of Batman. And I don't disagree with that take.
I agree with that.
I love these movies, not because they're Batman movies, because they're very well written, good movies. Like, this is the thing that I'm saying with the MCU. There is not an MCU movie that is written to the level of Begins or Dark Knight. Like, not even close. It's like not even in the same ballpark. And that's what I'm saying is it's like, that's not why I go to most comic book movies, is to be blown away. That just happens to be that the Spider-Verse movies and the Dark Knight, the first two Dark Knight movies, are that for me. But I think that they take away the comic book elements, if that makes sense. Like it's not, to me, it's not a comic book. So like, yeah, you're right. We don't have the Batcave in the Dark Knight. I don't look at that as a bad thing, in the same way that I don't necessarily look at him killing Ra's al Ghul in Begins as a bad thing, because yes, that's not Batman, but also these movies aren't Batman.
That's fair. I get that.
That is completely fair.
And it is a very different Batman than like what's in the comics and what's traditionally known as Batman. So I get that too. And I also feel like people, not to bring up the Batman again, but people shit on Robert Pattinson because they say he hasn't played Bruce Wayne yet. And like, I feel like there's so much more to Bruce Wayne as a character than just him having that playboy, like billionaire side to him that Nolan showed so prevalently in that trilogy. And I feel like to that, like that specifically did do damage to like the overall public perception of Batman and Bruce Wayne, because now everyone loves those movies. Like it's hard to find people that don't like the Nolan trilogy. And so people would think that's just like what Batman is, and anything that doesn't do that is wrong. And like that's not I love them, but that's not really true. Like there's a lot of room to do very different things. The Reeves movie gets the detective side done perfectly, and the no killing thing, and like no guns. And I think that Zack Snyder got a lot right too. I love BVS. So BVS is a 5 for me. Like it's a 5. I love BVS, even though he kills people. I put it to the side and I'm like, this is awesome regardless. Like I can get past it.
5-star movie, yeah. Batman v Superman.
I've seen it twice this year. I love it.
I am a Batman v Superman defender, certainly on my show. It's my co-host's least favorite superhero movie of all time. And I do not think that, especially the Ultimate Edition, I think is an 8 out of 10. That movie has problems. You are not going to give me that that's a perfect movie.
It does, but for me, 5 out of 5 doesn't mean it's perfect. It's just like, it's just my like, my rating of it, how much I enjoy. I try to rate movies like based on how much did I enjoy watching it, and if it's a 5, it's like it was a 5 out of 5 for like my experience. And I just feel like there are bad things about BVS, but like it's so interesting to watch, even if you think it's messy. Like it's a fun mess to watch versus stuff like in the MCU that you just don't like. Thor: Love and Thunder, Quantumania, like nothing in that movie's interesting that's like fun to rewatch and like pick apart. It's just bad and boring. But like BVS, there's so much, especially the visuals. The visuals are gorgeous, and Batman looks right out of the comics. And I think Lex Luthor is too shit on. I think he's fun.
He's a terrible representation of that character, but he isn't not entertaining.
Right.
You know, like
bad Lex Luthor, good villain. Like
Why?
he pushes the story very well. Like he moves the story along very well. But bad incarnation of Lex Luthor. And I'm sure James Gunn's gonna give us the correct one soon.
Correct. I agree.
All right, we do.
I just can't move past the fact that Nolan doesn't have Gotham in his movies. That's why I prefer Batman Begins to the whole trilogy.
Thank you.
Like that. I know you said you don't care about the like accuracy, and that's fair. It's like a Joker thing, but it's in its own thing. But when I watch a Batman movie, Gotham's the main thing for me for Batman, and that's why like Tim Burton and Matt Reeves done it perfectly. So it's hard. And then even Batman Forever, like the caves and the sets and that, they're so good. I love that like Riddler set in Batman Forever, our set piece. And then there's just nothing that compares in the Nolan trilogy for me. It's just Chicago. It's not Gotham.
It's
Chicago in The Dark Knight, and then it's Pittsburgh in Rises. Like I don't know why they changed it for every movie, because I feel like the end of Rises, the end of Rises when he's carrying the bomb out to sea, like I feel like that would hit a little harder if that felt like the Gotham from Begins, but it feels like a completely new city. It still hits hard for me, but like Gotham is one of the flaws with the trilogy for me.
All right, we do got to move on to the next one. All right, first one, the romance scenes in Spider-Man 2 are inferior to Star Wars Attack of the Clones. 3, 2, 1.
Insane question. What are we doing here?
Can I do both?
The dialogue is awful in both of them, but in Attack of the Clones, you have possibly the greatest love theme ever written in the background. So therefore, I care. Therefore, I actually I can listen to the love theme all day. Whereas in Spider-Man 2, there's no score there's no score that's getting me to invest in it, where I can mute the dialogue in my brain in Attack of the Clones and just buy into the romance from Across the Stars.
Across the Stars is legitimately probably the best Star Wars song ever, which is crazy to say.
Agree.
But it is. It's so good it sells the romance. There is a generation of children that are our age now, unfortunately, who will tell you with a straight face that is a great love story. And it's 100% because of Across the Stars.
And I'm one of those people.
We're not comparing it to the best romance ever, though, are we? Come on. The Spider-Man movies, the romance is the movies. You can't just separate them. Like, you can't say they're great movies and say the romance is bad. Come on. And there's a great score behind it. The romance in Revenge of the Sith almost ruins that movie because the way Anakin betrays them at the end to just turn on them for basically no reason, it's terrible.
It's really bad.
It doesn't.
I'll give you that one.
It almost ruins it.
Revenge of the Sith is a bad movie. I love it, but it's not good. And people will tell you it's good. You're so beautiful. It's only because I'm so in love. No,
I hunch.
So in love with
That's such a good line.
So love has blinded you? Oh my gosh, it's a real scene on the balcony. In Revenge of the Sith, a good one.
Is I hunch really that much worse?
It's so good. When they talk in the garden of his house over the fence, those are the best scenes.
Cute. I think you're wrong.
Yeah, exactly. They're almost the best scenes in the movies.
All right, there's the hospital scene. I brought this up when we covered these movies. There's the hospital scene where she's like, "Oh, did Spider-Man ask about me?" No, Spider-Man is just going to ask the random photographer about the random girl he saved when he has no clue you even know each other. It makes no sense.
And it makes sense that she wouldn't leave him after he genocided the Tusken Raiders. No.
Yeah, I'll give you
that.
I don't care. Maybe Across the Stars. That's why she stays.
No,
you're like that. That's why you stay.
I want to know why this guy over here said agree and disagree.
Oh, I think they're just both shit, and I don't have an opinion one way or the other.
Good for you.
I like the Spider-Man trilogy a lot more than any Star Wars. I'm not huge on Star Wars, but Ryan saying that the romance is the Raimi trilogy, I must be watching the wrong trilogy because that's the last thing I care about in the Raimi trilogy. I don't feel like the performances are very good. They're fine. Tobey Maguire and Kirsten Dunst are fine, but their relationship is not the reason I watch Raimi's trilogy at all.
You like every Raimi movie better than any Star Wars movie?
Probably not 3. There's a couple Star Wars I'd take over 3.
But
the first 2,
Spider-Man's 1 and 2 over Empire and New Hope?
Yeah,
I would take the whole trilogy
They're-
over
they're
every
Star
single
Wars
Star Wars
haters.
movie.
That's
They're
preposterous.
Star Wars haters.
That's preposterous. You guys haven't rewatched Star Wars recently. New Hope is my favorite movie of all time. It's the most important movie of all time. It's an unbelievable movie. It's an unbelievable achievement. It is the best paced movie of all time.
They've never seen in theaters either, where Star Wars, the cinematic experience of it, is such a major part of that franchise.
I disagree.
Like,
I've never seen New Hope in theaters. It doesn't matter. Like it's just no.
well, I agree,
like
it doesn't matter.
an Empire, people think the consensus is Empire is better than the movie I'm describing to you. Like no, not giving you all that.
I disagree there, but I don't disagree enough to argue. But I think they're both.
You disagree with what?
I think Empire's better than the original.
That's fine. A lot of people do. That's the consensus. But that's my point. It's like I'm describing to you what I believe is the most important movie of all time, what I believe is the best paced movie of all time. And the consensus is its sequel is better. Like,
oh, I get what you mean.
Yeah, like, and now every other one is easily worse than Spider-Man 1 and 2. Return of the Jedi is tremendously overrated. Revenge of the Sith is probably the single most overrated movie of all time. And I'm a Last Jedi defender. I think Last Jedi is good, but
we're not going to have time for that. We're not. One of our ones that we're going to have to cut was that it was going to be Joe Biden and Congress should come together to pass legislation that forbids Disney from ever touching Star Wars again, punishable by public execution of Bob Iger. We're not going to have time for that, but that was one of the ones we were going to do today.
You're like a staunchly anti-Disney Star Wars guy?
Huge anti-Disney Star Wars guy.
Last Jedi's incredible. I think it's awful. Do you like
Last Jedi has the best one?
I love Rian Johnson. I love every Rian Johnson movie except for that one.
Yeah, so I think people like that are idiots. I'm gonna be like fully like straight up with you. If you like the entire catalog from a person except their Star Wars movie, like I think that's almost obnoxious. Like that's crazy to me. But all right, that's fine. You don't like Last Jedi, but so you are a hater of The Mandalorian. You're a hater of Andor. You're a hater of the last two episodes of Clone Wars. Disney has done unbelievable stuff with Star Wars. I think Rise of Skywalker is the worst thing they've ever done, that Star Wars has ever done. And I think Acolyte episodes 3 and the season finale are somehow worse than Rise of Skywalker. Like I think Disney Star Wars is bad, but like they have done some incredible stuff that we would not be getting. You want another George Lucas trilogy? That man is an idiot.
Yes.
Also, there were bad Star Wars movies before Disney. So Disney didn't create the bad Star Wars movies. So you can't just blame them.
You're going to tell me Phantom Menace and Attack of the Clones are good movies?
Of
course he is. Sonic 2 was the fourth best movie of the first.
Yes.
All right, let's do the last one. Let's do the last one. We're done.
Our last one is definitely another controversial one. Super Mario Brothers will be not as good, but as impactful of a movie on its generation as Spider-Man 2. 3, 2, 1.
No way.
There we go.
Have you found someone that agrees with you?
No. I understand what he means. It's not how good of a movie it is. It's the impact. And you've got to consider this next generation. This is the TikTok generation of like no attention span. Like they're scrolling on TikTok while playing Minecraft, while eating. Like this is them. The Super Mario movie is going to be like Revenge of the Sith. Like they will convince people for the rest of their lives that Super Mario movie is like the best movie ever. That's like this just generate. I think it's an indictment. The fact that I agree with that statement is an indictment on this coming generation.
What I'll counter that with is Spider-Man 2 is a level where it changed the whole genre. Whereas we're supposed to be in the era of like video game movies right now. We've had Sonic, Mario. The only really successful adaptations are on TV with like Last of Us and Fallout. And we just got the Minecraft trailer, which I think is maybe even going to kill it because it'll come out next year. It'll make money, but that looks like the worst movie ever made. And then a couple months later, we're going to get Fantastic Four and the Superman. So comic or superhero movies are probably going to come back. And then I don't think video game movies are really going to become the number one thing like they were supposed to be at the start of Mario coming out. So I think that's why it won't be as influential.
That's a really, really good argument. I think that's a really solid argument. I've got no rebuttal to that. You got it.
It is a good argument, but here's my point is that imagine the year is 1999. and someone were to tell you that comic book movies would be the next big thing, coming off of Batman and Robin, like most video game movies traditionally have been shit. And in 1999, if you said they were going to be the best big thing, everyone would say you're nuts. Not one person would say it's a smart statement. I think Sonic was essentially X-Men for the genre. It proved that one could be good. And then Mario is Spider-Man, where it was the biggest movie of the year, made the most money, cultural phenomenon. Every time I saw Super Mario Bros. In theaters, there was a roaring applause after it in sold-out theaters. Like, you could tell those audiences really responded to that movie. And I think it captures the spirit of what a video game is, where it doesn't prioritize character, it prioritizes experience. And it is prioritizing, like, seeing the characters going from place to place, the journey, like just the obstacles. And it's not about character development or character arcs. It's about the experience and just doing fun and cool shit. Like the Donkey Kong track, it's nothing to do with any type of story or character arc. It's just characters doing fun shit, which is what a video game is. And I think this generation, their minds are wired for just the experience of walking around, going place to place, doing fun shit. And I think Mario Brothers nailed not what our idea of a good movie is, but what the spirit of a video game is, where every other one tried more to adapt the video game into a traditional character arc, into traditional screenplay format, where Mario Brothers said, we're going to prioritize the experience. And I think it's going to lead. And even when we got Spider-Man, we still had, encounter to what you're saying, we were still getting shitty superhero movies after Spider-Man had came out. There were still a lot of shitty ones being made, like the Minecraft trailer. So I think that it is, I think we're still going to see a lot of bad ones, but I think slowly and slowly we're going to see a couple good ones, some that make a lot of money. I think the Nintendo franchise is going to grow, and I do think that is going to be like the Marvel of the future.
Yeah, the thing that pushed off after Spider-Man, though, was Nolan making the Batman trilogy. We're not getting a Nolan-level director coming to make a video game movie, or even a James Gunn-level director. Like, there's going to be no director that's coming to make a Sonic 4.
It could happen in the next few years. Someone could make a Halo movie. Someone could make. There's plenty of franchises. It's to say that that's not out of the question that in the next 5 years we will.
I don't think it works in movie form.
I disagree. Like, what if you get like a fucking military person and it's Zero Dark 30, but it's Call of Duty? I disagree with you.
What if Edgar Wright?
I don't think they work in film form. It only works in TV, where you can like expand the characters.
I can tell you who's going to do it. It's going to be Edgar Wright. Edgar Wright is going to be the guy. Every single one of his movies, like Shaun of the Dead, has video game sound effects. Scott Pilgrim is essentially a video game movie. I think Edgar Wright definitely could be someone who would step into the genre in the next few years and make a Nolan, different, of course, style, but a Nolan level comic book or video game movie.
All right. Well, I got to head out. Thank you all so much.
Appreciate you for coming on, man.
Yes, I'm sorry about all the confusion about how long it took me to get on the last couple of days, but glad we were able to make this happen. So grateful to you guys. You got some pretty good opinions. I'm sure you do not feel the same way about me. But love y'all. Y'all stay safe. Y'all have a good time, and I'll see you when I see you.
Thanks, man. We actually are big fans of the show, even though we're bringing up the opinions we disagree with most, but love your show.
No, so of course.
Go subscribe to these if you haven't already.
Thank you, guys. All right. Love y'all. Stay safe.
Man.
Thank you. Real quick, I need to. You brought up Mario. Got to speak my piece about Mario. Mario's a disgrace. It's a disgrace against humanity. It's a disgrace against the art of film. And everyone's go-to defense of it is, oh, well, it's a video game, and the video game doesn't have a story. So so that's what you should go into. Well, guess what? You're making a movie. This isn't a game anymore. This isn't a platformer where the goal is just to get coins and do dumb shit. This is a movie. So you should take the skin of Mario, take the characters and the world and the way it looks, and then create a good story and put them in it. And like think about what the first two Lego movies did. I haven't seen the third one, but Lego Movie, Lego Batman, those aren't video games, but I would argue they have even less to work with because they're plastic. Instead of a game with like some kind of storylines, like these are just pieces of plastic, and they created good stories and then just put those characters in it. And I feel like that's what you should be doing with video game movies and not just blow it off as like, oh, well, it's Mario. It never had a story to begin with. Like, well, I'm watching a movie and I'd like for it to have a story that's good and not just be oh, do you get this reference? Oh, do you get this reference? Oh, do you get this reference? And then not even play the cool Mario music that everyone loves. Like they used licensed
That's
music.
criticism. I agree with that.
That's horrible. Like that's the first thing
such a
people
problem
think
with
of.
elimination.
Yeah,
So
like you
horrible,
had
the
you had
music.
an opportunity to do like some really cool stuff with like the traditional Mario theme and like chop it up and you know, like how Pull and Wolverine like slows down like a prayer at the end and like remixes it a little bit. Like they could have done some cool remixes with the score, and
they kind of did at the end.
None of that.
They had the superstar theme at the end.
One time is not enough.
No,
as great as the Mario music is.
I agree with your criticism. All right. So this is branching off into a different argument because I was more talking about the impact it's having rather than the quality of the movie. But I'm down to talk about the quality of the movie.
Yeah,
because I do like
my argument has no logic involved whatsoever in terms of like the importance to the generation. My hatred grows too deep to use logic in this argument, so I can't. I get what you're saying with like video game movies are like could be now what comic book movies were in the late 90s, and like it sounds dumb when someone says comic book movies will be the next big thing, and that's kind of how it feels now with video game movies. But I feel like I could be wrong, but I feel like comics, there's so many more like good comic book characters and stories to adapt than there are games, because comics are just story first. Like they're always just characters and stories, just like movies and shows. It's just like entertainment. But games are like completely different. There's games that exist, so like Flappy Bird, that's a game. Like that doesn't have a story. It's just you tapping and like. So there's games that just you can't adapt. Like it just wouldn't make sense. Like an Angry Birds movie. Like I haven't seen it. I imagine it's horseshit. But then there's things like The Last of Us and Red Dead Redemption 2 and Ghost of Tsushima, and there's games that can be adapted and should be adapted. But I feel like the amount of games that like should be adapted is pretty small. I'm not a huge gamer, but like I'm fairly knowledgeable of it. I feel like it's pretty small compared to the amount of comic book characters and comic books that are out there. And I feel like the video game trend won't be nearly as successful as the comic book trend, because that actually like felt very logical and very it felt like the next step. And this feels like they're reaching and like trying to make things work, when in reality, like there's not a ton of games that actually work for a show or a movie.
All right. So sorry, Ron, do you have something you want to say?
I was gonna say, I feel like comic books to movies are more of a one-to-one translation, whereas you just can't do video games the way that they are. It's just they're a completely different medium. Like the fact that you control the character for hours and hours, you just can't replicate that. Like as much as I love The Last of Us, like limited series, it's just not the same. Like it doesn't hit the same because you don't. It was like 10 hours or something, but it's not the same as a video game where you interact with the characters and you walk about collecting stuff, exploring the levels. You spend like probably triple that or double than the series does, and the end and the emotional parts just they don't hit the same. And that's with a TV series. Like you just can't do it with a movie for these movies or for the video games that have actual plot. Like you can do it with Mario or Angry Birds or something like that, where like there isn't really a plot and you're kind of making it up as you go along. But it just doesn't work in a movie form with stuff like Last of Us or Uncharted. Like we've seen, like they just made up, or they tried to make up their own story, and it just didn't work at all.
Yeah.
They just can't live up to the video game versions.
Yeah, it's difficult to adapt The Last of Us, and that's possibly the most adaptable game there is, like one of them. And it's hard for even
done
that.
it perfectly, and it didn't live up to the game at all.
Yeah,
like, I don't
exactly.
think they could have done
like
better.
Best case scenario, it's not as good as the game. So when you're adapting like Mario, Sonic, I haven't seen Sonic. I'm not trying to shit on it, but when you're adapting games that are typically like, just kind of arcade style games, like you have to put in the work to create a story and just like put them in it. And it'll be a Mario movie, but it just makes something good and don't just rely on fan service and and like, oh, do you get this reference? And like, oh, here's Rainbow Road, and like, you gotta create something here. Like the Lego movie didn't just say, hey, here's a bunch of Legos. Isn't that great? Like they actually tried to make something good and then, just put a Lego skin over it and then people liked it. So that's what they need to do.
The Lego Batman movie is kind of a video game adaptation, I guess. Because
There
it's
are
basically
Lego
just the
Batman
same
games,
as the
that's
Lego
true.
games. Yeah.
Hold on, I got to cut in here real quick. So starters, I could tell you especially Oscar down here in the corner, did not play Mario growing up because what's it called? There's the Sonic, like I briefly mentioned, Mario games were always about gameplay over story. They never prioritized the story part of their games. And that's why a lot of people argued that they were more fun to play than the franchises like Sonic, which cared about cinematic cutscenes, character arcs, music, all that stuff was such a big part of the Sonic franchise. Whereas the Mario games really didn't care about anything besides the gameplay. So that's why I think it's fitting for the franchise to take that approach into movies. Now, what you said about not all video games being adaptable for video game to a movie, I think every video game does the same thing. They all do the same thing. If they take the video game, they try to adapt it into standard screenplay format, and it fails because of that. And I think one of the best things Mario Bros did, whether you like it or don't like it, is that they did stick true to what's the root of this franchise, what is the tradition of their approach to the story and the experience of playing that game. And they didn't care about adapting it into the fundamentals of screenwriting. They cared about, okay, Mario games are all about experience and gameplay. Let's try and prioritize that in the game. Now, in terms of whether or not that should be adapted, I think that comes down to this idea that most of us have that every film needs to be a plot and a narrative, which I don't personally think is true. I think it's an option. I think having a plot and narrative is an optional thing. I think a movie, I think there's only one thing a movie needs to be, and that's a moving image. And I think that a part of yes, it can be a story, but it can also just be an experience. And I think there is a lot of value in an experience. Scorsese called Marvel movies theme park, and he's talking about the experience. And I do think, I agree, it's a different art form, something different, but I still think there's value in that. And I think a lot of these movies focus on, okay, well, how do we find the story in this? And I agree, most of them aren't adaptable. And I think the stories suck. And you're there watching them put so much emphasis on this story that none of us care about. When Mario's like, listen, we know our story's not good, so let's just make it a really fun experience. And I think that's why I enjoyed it so much, because I wasn't caught up in this plot or story I didn't care about. I was able to just enjoy the experience of it. And I had a fun experience with it. But maybe you're someone who cares more about the plot and the narrative. I know, Cash, you're one of those people. You care a lot about the narrative. I personally don't care as much. I didn't mind it, but I do think that there is still value in creating an experience over a narrative plot.
Right. I am a narrative guy, but I think one of the big things with this movie specifically could just be you grew up with the games. Most people grew up with the games, and I didn't really. I had one Mario game on a Game Boy, and that was it. And it wasn't a big part of my childhood. So if you love Mario, I could see you turning on the movie and just being happy to see Mario stuff on screen and a narrative really being important. Because I think I am a turn your brain off type of person. I think Deadpool and Wolverine's like that. I like Deadpool and Wolverine a lot as characters. So the narrative to me, I think it's a lot better than Mario, but it's not great. It's not a great narrative in that movie, but it's passable for me because I love Deadpool and Wolverine so much. So I think if I had that kind of connection with Mario, maybe I would be a lot more forgiving, and I surely would be more forgiving of it. But for me, I have no connection to anything in Mario, so the whole no narrative thing really just is insufferable to me. And I think that's probably the main reason I'm so hard on it, is just I don't have a connection with it.
And real quick, building off of that, I get why you're not going to connect with this as someone who didn't play the games. I think the no narrative would work better, because at the end of the day, this is still a kid's movie. And I, at my age, can enjoy watching this, even though it's a kid's movie, because I have that childhood connection. So when I sit in that theater, I'm basically back in my 8-year-old mindset of it's bringing me back to when I was 8 years old playing those games. And if I didn't have that memory and that attachment, I totally agree. I would not care about this I wouldn't enjoy this film. It would be like a one and done. I probably would have a similar. I probably wouldn't like it for different reasons, but I don't think I would have really responded or cared to see it again if I didn't have it. But I do think if they were to adapt a video game that was more of an adult movie and took that experience over narrative approach, like the only reason they can take that approach for a kid's movie that I'm going to care is because I care about the game. But if they did it for an adult game or something that is more appealing to people our age, I think there's still a lot of value in that.
I kind of hate the term kids movie because I feel like even when we were growing up and in the 90s, I feel like kids movies almost didn't exist to an extent, at least the way they are now, because they would I mean, they were still marketing it towards kids, but I feel like even like say Pixar, for example, like there's always elements in there for adults to still enjoy in the movies, or even movies like Speed Racer, like that's aimed at kids. Great movie. There's I feel like there was just
a kids movie though.
Is it not a kids movie?
Yeah,
I don't know.
I say
that would pop into my head.
There's a family movie. Every kids movie is a family movie. There's a kids movie and a family movie. Family movie is something that you would want to watch as a communally, as a family. It has appeal to both kids and adults. A kids movie really is something without much appeal to adults. Is what I would say.
Yeah, but I feel like they just didn't exist as much when we were growing up. Like, what was it? Was that Harold and the Purple Crayon? Like, nobody wants to watch that. That's not appealing to kids or adults.
Let me get Soul Letterbox. There's plenty of movies I've rewatched from my childhood where I'm like, that's it. Like the Bionicle movie. Is that a family movie? Like that is a kids movie.
I don't even know what that is.
I feel like most kids movies are like direct to video, like Bob the Builder movies and shit.
That's
like,
fair.
Not a theatrical Mario movie. I feel like that is the definition of a family movie, but it's just bad.
All right, hold on. Let me find some kids. There's plenty of them when we were growing up. And just drawing
the peak of Mario games was in like the 90s and 80s when we were growing up as well in the 2000s. Like they're still like have to appeal to like all the adults that will love Mario from when they were kids. So I mean, you're right. That should be a family movie. It's not a kids movie.
Like, you know, when you see a trailer for a kids movie and you're like, I do not give a fuck about watching that. Like, if a Bluey movie came out or Paw Patrol, like, I'm not going to see that. Paw Patrol got a theatrical release.
A Bluey movie would be pretty good. I'm not going to lie.
I haven't seen Bluey, but it was just an example. But I know the Paw Patrol movie came out last year. Like, I didn't watch. That's a kids movie.
Yeah, that's a good.
Like, I didn't watch that.
That's a good example.
Like, that's a kids movie. Mario is family.
Was The Land Before Time or We're Back really family movies? Like, those are kids movies. And I can still watch them today because I grew up on them. But, like, The Land Before Time is a kids movie.
I've seen neither.
All right, let me get a better example.
Is that the Will Ferrell movie?
Nah, these are animated.
Barnyard's better. That's all I know.
Barnyard is not better. Jimmy Neutron is a kids movie.
Yeah, because it's
a great kids movie.
It's
a banger kids movie.
Jimmy Neutron a 5-star. Let's be honest here.
That's probably in the kids movie tier. Even proving so that you can make great kids movies, and it's not an excuse.
No, I agree that you can still make great kids. Ice Age, another example. Like Ice Age is a kids movie.
Toy Story, Incredibles, Monsters Inc.
Any Pixar.
Pixar is just there's so much. I'll put it this way. I think it comes down to the depth where like there's so much depth to a Pixar movie that even though they're simple.
Exactly, but why should we not expect that from a Mario movie?
Oh, I don't think every movie needs to be that. I think it's a bonus if it can be. Like Toy Story, it's great.
I just don't think Mario is the peak experience. Like it feels like the fact that it's just like big actors casted in these like roles and then the music on top of that. It just feels like a corporate like movie. Like in a lot of the departments.
It 100% is, but I enjoy it. Like I'll put it this way, I'm all for. I can see when it's a corporate movie, but at least be a good fun salesman. If you're gonna do the corporate thing, sell us fun. Like Scooby-Doo is a corporate cash grab with big actors at the time. I know they're not recognizable names today, but like look at the cast of Scooby-Doo. They were all hit actors in 2002. But it knows how to sell you fun, which is why I'll buy into the corporates. Like it's a total like the hotel resort wants you to go to their theme park resorts in Orlando. Like it's a total corporate money movie, but it's good at selling.
Is that a kids movie or a family movie?
Definitely family. There's a lot of adult
Yeah.
jokes in Scooby-Doo.
Yeah, but that's
Yeah,
what I mean. Like,
probably
even the
family.
kids' movies were like that back in the day.
Yeah,
Most of them.
My
Yeah.
point is this: I'm just saying I like both. I enjoy both. I can enjoy a movie like Toy Story, which is a simple kids movie with layers and depth, or something like Small Soldiers, which is just a dumb kids movie that was fun.
I would say like 99% of animated movies that are like so-called kids movies that go into theaters are 99% of the time family movies. And then there's the occasional Paw Patrol fucking handyman-y, like there will be some bullshit in there. But like most of the time, if it's Pixar, if it's like DreamWorks, it's a family movie and it should be able to be watched by anyone and have a decent time.
All right, I'll count it. Was Pokemon a family movie? Like, do you think any mom
Detective
and dad,
Detective Pikachu?
No, I'm talking like the OG, like Pokemon the movie. 'Cause those did get theatrical releases.
I haven't seen it. Never seen a single Pokemon anything in my life.
Like those were dead bangers as kids. But was Shark Boy and Lava Girl a family movie?
Hell yeah.
It's like,
That's a banger right there.
No parents wanted to watch Shark Boy and Lava Girl. It was a fucking banger.
All of
when you
them
watched
did,
it at 8 years old.
It's a
No
kids.
mom
I'll
and
give
dad
you that. It's a
wanted to
kids
watch
movie.
Shark Boy and fucking Lava Girl.
No, it's a kids movie.
Yeah.
Most of the like Nickelodeon or Disney originals, like Jump In or
That's
Shark Boy and Lava Girl, are like they're kids movies.
Yeah.
But
Those aren't
they made them
theatrical
good.
releases, though.
Power Rangers, the movie, was not a family movie, but it was a banger.
It's a banger movie, though.
And it's still a
A
banger.
straight banger.
It is such a banger. Another one, Hat Guy brought up Transformers, which, and actually I didn't mention to him. I totally agree with his Bumblebee take, but Transformers, the 80s movie. Great kids movie. No appeal to adults. No appeal to like adults who didn't grow up with the franchise. Like moms and dads were not excited to see, like if they sat down and watched that movie with their kid, they're not paying attention. You know, family movies.
I didn't even know there was a.
Family and watch.
I didn't even know there was a Transformer movie in the 80s.
It's a cartoon one. It's a banger. It's
Oh
the
yeah,
best
the cartoon one. Yeah.
except for Bumblebee.
I want to watch that one.
I
Wait,
love
what?
Bumblebee.
Yeah, I've seen Bumblebee. I thought Bumblebee was good.
I loved Bumblebee.
I'm also a Michael Bay Transformers hater. I'm kind of a Michael Bay hater in general, but specifically his Transformers movies, I think, are very hard to get through. It's a lot of military talk, fucking just people on walkie-talkies going fucking niner and all that bullshit for like way too long. And I just think the story is bad. And like, I thought The Rise of the Beast was like so much fun and so fresh.
I hated that one so much.
So not what Michael Bay did. And like, it's weird because like, it feels like with Transformers, you either love the Bay movies and hate Rise of the Beast, or you like Rise of the Beast and you hate Michael Bay. So it's like, you're probably either one or the other, but like Rise of the Beast used music, which is cool. So that's fucking awesome. You should watch it. It's good. It's the best one. Unless Transformers 1 is better, which we'll see. But I'm excited now that Hat Guy said it's like the best Transformers.
I am excited.
Because the trailer looked quite shitty to me. But maybe it'll be another Dungeons and Dragons.
Well, I know Hat Guy defends Bumblebee and really praises the opening scene and how it's exactly what people who grew up on the cartoon remember. And I felt the exact same way about the movie, so I definitely trust his Transformers take. So I am definitely excited.
I don't remember the opening of Bumblebee.
They were on Cybertron, and it's like the battle.
Oh,
it was fucking.
That
awesome.
was fucking awesome.
It was straight out of the cartoon.
That was awesome. I remember a couple scenes that made me feel like that in Rise of the Beasts. So you should watch it. Have you seen all of them except for that one?
No, I've actually only seen the first two Michael Bays and Bumblebee, and then the 80s one.
Okay.
Damn, you've got some shitty movies to watch.
No, you don't. Just don't watch them and watch Resident Evil. Dude, The Last Night is brain numbing. It is one of the worst blockbusters I've ever seen. It is so bad.
A few years ago, I got into an argument with a friend because he thought me saying that I didn't care to watch Transformers 5 was like the hottest take ever. He was like, dude, you're trying so hard to be different. Like, oh, like you're too smart for Transformers 5. I'm like, dude, everyone, it's clearly a shit. This was before it came out, actually, so no one's seen it. I'm like, it's clearly a shit movie. This is when I watch trailers. I'm like, this does not look like a good movie. And he's like, oh, dude, blah, blah, blah. How can you not? Everyone loves Transformers. It's going to be a banger. They think Optimus might be a bad guy. It's the plot twist of the year. Like,
yeah. And then there's other movies you would have to watch it. You'd have to do homework. Yeah. You'd have to do bad movie homework to watch a bad movie. So no thanks.
Alex, do you like Michael Bay's TMNT movie?
We don't speak of that. That's right next to it's The Long Goodbye, The Great Gatsby, and Michael Bay's Ninja Turtles.
It's almost as bad as that.
Those are the three worst movies to ever exist. Robert Altman's The Long Goodbye and Michael Bay's Ninja Turtles are the three worst movies on the face of the earth.
Yeah, we disagree on Mutant Mayhem, but dude, Michael Bay TMNT fucking sucks.
It is miles ahead of Michael Bay.
That is like upsetting to watch. Like these grown ass, like these turtles acting like grown ass men, and like, oh,
you want to
just make a last Ronin. Just give up on live action TMNT. That's kind of how I feel. No. You don't think so? Unless
TMNTs are peak.
Okay, but that was a certain time and place. But like now they're gonna try to do CG. They're gonna try to do what Michael Bay did again, like CGI turtles. It's gonna look photorealistic and gross. Like keep doing Mutant Mayhem, whether you like the story or not. I don't even remember exactly what I think you didn't love the way they portrayed the characters, but like that animation is great.
Yeah, there was a lot I didn't like about it, but yeah, it was the characters was the biggest thing for me.
Yeah, like just stick to animation. I feel like animation needs to be used more with like big franchises. I wish Marvel and DC would release theatrical animated movies, and you can just do one-offs and not even have a connected universe, but just like, oh, this comic book's good, let's adapt it into this live action thing. And since it's not a franchise, you could get like A-list people to do it, and they wouldn't have this big like contract, like a 10 film deal, so it wouldn't scare people away. Like just make a Dark Knight Returns adaptation, animated, release it in theaters, one and done. You'd make a ton of money, and it'd be awesome.
Real quick, actually, this is one of the ones that got cut for Agree or Disagree, so let's run it right now.
Okay.
The comic book genre is better suited for animation than live action.
Oh yeah.
3,
agree.
2, 1.
It doesn't mean there should only be animated, but it's definitely like the easier and the thing that makes the most sense.
I agree. I think it's like I said about like my criticisms begins. Like I think comic book movies are about embracing what you can't do in real life, and I think there's just so much more you can do. Like you need to ground, like CGI is expensive, and you need to really ground the story in some way for the sake of production costs when you're doing live action. And it's like, let's be honestly, I'm not even gonna say this. The MCU is animated movies. There is way more animation in those movies than there is live action. You could even argue that the vast majority of those films are animated. But I think they opted for pure animation. Like Spider-Verse, you can craft every image to perfection because you have to do it from scratch. You can't just drop the camera and shoot talking heads because it's easier in animation. So you might as well, since you're making it from scratch, capture that spirit of a comic book like Spider-Verse does and have every image precisely crafted. So I think that's why Spider-Verse movies, if like I'm taking away bias, are top 5 comic book movies ever, in my opinion.
Yeah, there's the technical reasons make it a lot easier. Like you said, like you can do a huge, like you could film like an Endgame type scene for way cheaper than it would be to actually film it. Like it costs more to animate those big scenes because there's a lot more people, a lot more moving parts to animate, but it's still way less than, live action. But also in terms of just like story and tone and everything, when you watch like Batman the Animated Series, you see a big ball of clay and it's Clayface, you're like, hell yeah, that's Clayface. And then you see Mr. Freeze wearing a fishbowl, you're like, hell yeah, that's Mr. Freeze. But if you see those things in live action and they're photorealistic, you're going to say, this is goofy as shit. This is weird. So there's just certain things that will not. You can do it as good as possible. I love Mr. Freeze. I would love for Mr. Freeze to be in the Batman Part 2. It's not going to happen. It would never happen.
I'm still hoping for it. The flood is
so
your chance.
It would be cool if they throw out like a line that references Dr. Freeze or like Victor, whatever. Like that'd be cool, but it's not going to look right. It's not going to look right, and I feel like that's why animation X-Men 97 does a lot of that stuff too. Like X-Men is such a property suited for it animation, and I feel like live action, like you have to work really hard to try to get things to work in live action versus animation. It's like 1-to-1. Like you can put anything in a comic and animation pretty much and it'll work.
True. Yeah, I mean, there's animation that I love, like Spider-Verse, the Batman and Spider-Man animated series. But even like outside of comic books, I'm always going to prefer the live action like version of it. Like just the practicality of getting those stuff on like a real life screen. Like Matt Reeves creating Gotham in real life is I'm always going to feel that is much more impressive than like anything that an animated movie can do. Even though Spider-Verse are some of the best looking movies ever made, still like I'm always just going to prefer like what they've done in real life. And that's just kind of a thing that I have with movies in general, not really comic book movies specifically. So yeah,
I agree.
I'm
there
always going to prefer them.
It's like animation makes more sense and it's more logical and it's easier to adapt, but like it's really hard to make an animated movie that I like more than the Batman or the Dark Knight trilogy, because those movies, like since it's live action, it feels so human, and like there's scenes that really move me when I watch those, or Tobey Maguire Spider-Man or whatever. But animation, as great as they are, like it's really hard to make me cry from an animated comic book movie.
Get some good music.
I love Mask of the Phantasm, but like that movie doesn't really hit me emotionally at all. But the Batman, the Dark Knight trilogy, all that stuff, probably just because it's live action, like it feels a lot more intimate.
In terms of comic book movies, probably it's only Leap of Faith from Into the Spider-Verse that really gets me close to anything that's in live action.
Probably like all of the things that make me cry from animated comic book movies are from those two movies. I think the scene that gets me the most is when Miles is in his room and the door's locked and he's tied up and his dad's talking to him through the door. That scene always makes me cry. That's amazing. And then Leap of Faith, just full body chills every time.
See, I disagree because 0 live action movies have ever made me cry, and 1 animated movie has made me cry in my life. So
you've only cried once from a movie?
It's so crazy. Yeah, it's only once.
I did not know that.
Toy Story 3, only movie I ever cried.
That's valid. That's fucking valid. Right there. Yeah, I get that. God, that's great. Like Good Will Hunting, Manchester by the Sea, like
I feel so. I never seen Manchester by the Sea, so please no spoilers. But what's it called?
You should watch that.
I want to. It's been on my list for a while.
Oh yeah, you're a theaters guy, and it's like a prime
I don't
movie,
choose.
So they probably don't put it in theaters.
I really don't choose what I watch. It's a matter of like just what is available in the theaters. Yeah. But what's it called? Like Good Will Hunting. Like I feel so much emotion. I just don't like cry.
I get
like
that
I feel
too.
the heart. I just don't like tears are just not.
I count like tearing up to like the point of almost crying is like pretty much crying
but
or having a movie make you cry.
I don't mean tearing up. I just mean like I don't know. It's like you just feel it, but like I'm not tearing up.
Have you seen Dead Poet Society?
Love it.
That like I don't get how you don't cry during that movie.
That's valid. That's one. Well, I did watch it in school, but it's still.
Oh yeah, you couldn't cry in front of your friends.
It's still hit for sure.
Yeah, I cried during The Dark Knight Rises 3 separate times. So we're very different.
Real men cry during the superhero trilogies.
Yep.
I almost cried during Sonic 2.
What about Queen of the Trap House?
Honestly, I didn't cry because like the whole movie was tears. You read my review as tears dripped down my face.
Yep. Oh man. Do we have more hot takes?
There's one I wasn't going to bring up because I didn't think Hat Guy would have much to say about it. Since we're talking hot takes, we might as well go with my hottest take. So, 12 Angry Men is a top 10 movie from the 1950s. 3, 2, 1. Yeah,
Top 10.
Man, that's
Come on.
5.
Let's not get silly here.
It's not top 25.
It's easily top 5.
We're talking about one of the greatest decades of movie history. It's not even the best courtroom drama to come out in 1957.
It is. It is.
I
It's
like
slightly
these
better
12
than
movies.
Witness for the Prosecution.
I'm going to name a lot of movies that are better than 12 Angry Men. Let me just consult Letterboxd. I don't forget any. To start, you have 2 of the best Alfred Hitchcock movies in Vertigo and Rear Window.
That's valid. I will
Then
allow that.
we have Francois Truffaut's The 400 Blows. Top
Not
5
better.
ever for me. That's
But
3.
He's French, though. You can't have a Frenchman above 12 Angry Men.
Are we still talking only American movies? Because it is top 25 if we're talking American.
It's not the fact he's not made. He's French.
You just hate the French.
It just brings the movie down. Yeah.
Nah, 400 Blows is top 5 movie ever made. Top 5 favorite, at least. You have Knights of Cabiria and La Strada from Fellini. You have Billy Wilder did Witness for the Prosecution. He did Sunset Boulevard. He did Sabrina. All better. You have
You
Otto
missed
Preminger.
one. You missed the Billy Wilder that I actually think is better. Some Like It
and
Hot.
Some Like It Hot. And Some Like It Hot. I must have missed that on the list. You're right. Yep, Some Like It Hot as well. Also better. Stanley Kubrick did Paths of Glory. I'm already at 10. Then I haven't even started on Kurosawa. You have Ikaru, Seven Samurai, Rashomon. What else do we have? We have... Oh, and Evie Deloni from Fellini. And Kurosawa's The Hidden Fortress. Did I say Paths of Glory? I think I did.
Mm-hmm.
I'm at 15 already. Honestly, I'm taking Roman Holiday over 12 Angry Men as well. That's 16.
No way.
And
I've even
then
seen that, but there's no way it's better than 12 Angry Men.
It's peak. Elia Kazan's On the Waterfront. Now I'm at 17. What else do we have?
Please tell me you don't have the Blob over it.
Yes, actually.
I fucking hate
Why are you having to think about that?
Just because it is a Pennsylvania classic, and the theater that's in the Blob it's like an hour from me, but I try to go out there every now and then. It's literally my favorite movie theater ever, and they have a Blob festival every year. So
I went to theaters to watch the Blob, and I fucking hated it.
Love it. It's a masterpiece.
Shit.
It's awful.
Also, I'm going to go with The Bad and the Beautiful from Vincent Minnelli. Tokyo Story from... Oh, I didn't even say Singing in the Rain. One of the best. And Ace in the Hole from Billy Wilder. What else is better than 12 Angry Men?
Did you say Seven Samurai?
I did say Seven Samurai.
Oh, okay.
Streetcar Named Desire, also from Lee Kazan. And Sweet Smell of Success, one of my favorite 50s movies. Umberto... Actually, this is a movie that brought me very close to crying. One of the saddest movies I've ever seen. Umberto D. from Vittorio De Sica. That brought me very close to crying. North by Northwest from Hitchcock. That one's borderline, but...
No way. No way. It's not even
That
close.
one's borderline. Bridge on the River Kwai, David Lean.
What about
Cash,
Invasion of the Body
what do you
Snatchers?
have 12 Angry Men at?
Oh, 5.
I have it as
I'm a
14.
story and character guy, so it's
Yeah,
like,
that's the correct rating.
Hold
yeah,
on, there's
it's awesome.
definitely...
It's my favorite 50s movies. It's my favorite 50s movie, but I've only seen 12, so it's
And I just
not
realized
much.
I haven't even named the Bergman. I haven't even named the Ingmar Bergman movie yet. And give me Summer with Monica over it.
That's outrageous. Come on. That's just getting silly now. It's not even a top 10 Bergman film.
And you know what? Give me Guys and Dolls 2 while we're at it. I would rather watch Guys and Dolls than 12 Angry Men. From Joseph Mankiewicz.
I'll give you Some Like It Hot, Rear Window, and Sunset Boulevard. 12 Angry
Vertigo?
Men's my number 4.
Vertigo, the second
I
best.
have 12 Angry Men above it.
What's up?
Yep.
Knights
Yeah,
of
I have them.
Cabiria.
I have them right behind that. They're all in my top 10. But
Dude, Knights of
12 Angry
Cabiria
Men.
smokes 12 Angry Men. Legitimately. I
So,
think this-
Alex, is the reason that you have 12 Angry Men so much lower than the consensus, is it because of the visuals and the talking head stuff? Or because
think
it's
it's
in one
low
room?
Hates courtroom dramas.
I think it is a low rewatch value, and I mostly rate
Oh.
based on rewatchability. And I think it's a great first watch movie. I think it's a good second watch movie, and third and on, it's really like no bad. Like I'm never sitting at home and thinking like I want to watch 12 Angry Men.
I typically don't rewatch old movies because I'm just an idiot and I like watching Batman movies and shit. But like, if I had to watch one, like it would be 12 Angry Men, Rear Window, Singing in the Rain would probably be like the three I would want to rewatch from the 50s.
Singing in the Rain.
I feel like 12 Angry Men. I don't hate Singing in the Rain take. I like that movie's so much fun and so well made.
Yeah.
But like 12 Angry Men, I feel like is really rewatchable. But I also love courtroom dramas and dialogue-driven movies. So, do you like The Social Network?
Yeah.
I do, but I'm not as high on it as a lot of other people.
Yeah. So a lot of the talkie movies, it seems like you might be low. What about Zodiac?
I like Zodiac. I do like Zodiac.
Okay.
I've only seen
I love
Zodiac
movies like that.
I'll say this.
Anything like
sorry, you can go.
I was just gonna say like anything super talky like that, like an Aaron Sorkin Moneyball or like something like Spotlight, like that's just my shit.
So
They're just perfect screenplays. Like, there shouldn't be anybody that are like, even if you don't like old movies, like you're gonna like 12 Angry Men. It's a perfect movie.
That's like a good intro movie to show people that like are
100%.
closed-minded to old black and whites. Like you show them 12 Angry Men, they're gonna be like, well, hang on now. That kind of slapped.
All right, I have a counterpoint for both of you. I'll start with Cash first, since you made your point first. I hate courtroom dramas, but I love Aaron Sorkin movies. And the reason why I like Aaron Sorkin is because Aaron Sorkin is brilliant at creating rhythm. He understands the rhythm of syllables, the way words flow off each other, the way words sound. Like he's specific with the letters he uses and the sounds that those make to like a musical quality. Sorkin is such a craftsman of words, and the rhythm of his films is why I don't mind when they're all dialogue heavy, because it's not what the words mean, it's the rhythm of them, which is why I get so invested in a Sorkin movie compared to other courtroom dramas. Like I honestly don't think Sorkin's made a movie I didn't like. Like I'm a big Aaron Sorkin fan. That's why I like a film like The Social Network better. I totally agree with Ryan's point. 12 Angry Men is still one of the perfect introduction movies to the 1950s because it's very easy to digest. And you have certain polished elements that do, like, they weren't great at mixing sound in the 1950s. And it doesn't give you those moments where the sound kind of slips up to turn you off to the movie. Or, like, it just doesn't take as many big swings in terms of, it doesn't take those big swings that are going to maybe look cheesier and haven't aged well. So because it's very contained, simple movie, like there's really no difference from, like, you could make 12 Angry Men the exact same way today that you could in 1950.
I don't agree at all. I don't think you could make it again. No way.
If you're talking about like contemporary setting, then that's a different argument. But
no, I think I don't even think that it's just a screenplay movie. I think it's a gorgeous movie. There's the blocking and there's some great shots in there. In the 90s, William Friedkin remade it, and it is practically the same screenplay. It's got nothing on it at all. It does not look nearly as good.
Yeah, you know what? Scratch that point. I'm wrong. Scratch that point. Sorry, we're going to say.
Isn't the opening shot of 12 Angry Men like a one take of all the people coming into the room?
Is it them walking into the courtroom?
Yeah.
It's like up the staircase.
You're talking about the first shot when they're in the room.
Yeah, and it's like panning around and it's going up to the guy at the window, and like that shot's fucking awesome. All the credits are coming up as they do it.
Or when he drops the knife on the table.
Yeah,
some great shots in that movie.
And look, at the end of the day, like it's still a 9 out of 10. It's still a great script. It still has great character writing, and I agree. It's if you're going to go dialogue, do long dialogue takes. Have one actor off another bouncing off of each other. Don't just have them read their lines and then patch together line readings. Like, and that's what I love about old Hollywood compared to new Hollywood is that they had real blocked dialogue. It wasn't just sit and talk. Even like they actually knew how to block actors and let them bounce off of each other, which I think is a lot better. My thing is that it's just not. How is a movie that is not nice visually, with no music, a perfect movie? Because I don't feel anything when I watch 12 Angry Men. Like it makes me think. It doesn't make me feel jack shit. And at the end of the day, like that's just not a perfect. Like if we're talking about a perfect movie, in my opinion, it should be the definition of perfect movie should be an A in every department. It should be an incredible screenplay, incredible direction, incredible music, incredible sound design, wardrobe, hair and makeup, performances. It should be like if we're going to argue what is a perfect movie, then it should be perfect in every area. And I don't see how people make that argument when there is areas it's not perfect. If you want to argue it's a perfect screenplay, I get that. And the way I think, like, good music can make a movie great, and even if the screenplay is lacking, but the direction and the music is great, I'm still going to enjoy the movie. There are people who can, if the screenplay is great and other areas are lacking, they'll enjoy it. That's a matter of preference. I personally prefer music and picture, so I'm always like it. That's like even when it's a perfect screenplay, that's not totally going to win me over. Whereas some movies, even when they're a great score, that's not going to win other people over. But yeah, that's my argument.
Yeah, I get all that, and I am a big music guy too. But I feel like there are times where it makes sense not to have music, and 12 Angry Men is just one of them. I feel like it adds to the intensity and like the claustrophobia of the movie, and it makes you feel sort of like you're there. But also, for me, this might be a hot take. I'm not sure. I haven't seen nearly as many old movies as y'all have, but a lot of times when I'm watching an old movie, I don't really love the music that they play because the technology back then, like it's not recorded very well, and it can sound very like grainy and like choppy and just not
staticky kind of.
Yeah, staticky. Yeah, so
that's what I'm
like a tape.
Yeah, and it can also just kind of sound similar. Maybe, like I said, maybe I just haven't seen enough, but it's all just very like orchestral and doesn't sound very good. So like with modern movies, with the technology we have, I'm a lot more demanding of like this movie should have music because we can create such great music now and record it in such high quality. But like back in the 50s, I don't feel like it's a negative for me that it doesn't have music because I typically don't even really love music in old movies anyway.
I have three points for you. So the first is you said that 12 Angry Men's better without music, and I don't think you're wrong. I do think some movies, like maybe it is better suited that the movie doesn't have music, and that's the best decision for what the movie is. But if that's the case, then what the movie is, in my opinion, is always going to be inferior to something like Vertigo in terms of what I like. Like, I understand the argument. Like maybe the movie didn't need music, but that still is what they're trying to attempt. It's like the realistic superhero movie with Batman Begins. Like maybe it's perfect at being a realistic superhero movie, but I'm not that interested in watching more. The same way, maybe the movie didn't need music, but then that's just, and it's right for what it is, but that's not what I'm as interested in. As for 1950s movies, I get your point of that they couldn't record them as well. And there is a lot of generic scores in classic Hollywood. Totally agree. That's more of an argument, though, for the 40s. This is 7 years after Elia Kazan did Streetcar Named Desire, which has one of the greatest jazz scores of all time. And I agree that, like, when we do film restoration, we always think of pictures. And I've said multiple times, like, they should be doing film restoration for sound just like they are with picture because it's so important. They should be, really creating those immersive sound mixes for classic films when they restore them like they do with the picture, updating it to 4K. But what's it called? As for the scores, I agree that a lot can be generic, but when we get into the 50s, that's when you start to see composers like Alex North and Bernard Herrmann and Elmer Bernstein, who are kind of doing more innovative stuff on the musical side. So by the time 12 Angry Men was around, then that was like there was a lot of ground that had been broken in that area.
Yeah, no, I know like score is a big thing for you, but like this is just one of those examples where it's like the experience of watching it is just so good that it doesn't actually necessarily have to tick every single box. It's just the experience of like how good the screenplay is. It's a good looking movie. The acting's great. It's good enough for that 5-star. I think even I was trying to think of a movie that from that time that doesn't have one. I guess Rear Window, like we were talking about last week, it doesn't really have a in-your-face score. That's another movie that's kind of similar.
This isn't that era, but I think a perfect example of a movie that's great without a score is Portrait of a Lady on Fire. I think that's a movie
It doesn't have a
that's
score. I don't even remember.
There's no score until the final scene. I'm pretty sure there's no score until the final scene.
And that's diegetic. Not that it matters, but like that's
yeah.
diegetic music. So
yeah.
And it's really like it's a movie about like repressed emotions and all that, so it's fitting on that end to really like, unleash in that final scene. Just like the music's such a force after this extended silence. But the reason I think I like that so much better than a 12 Angry Men is that Portrait of a Lady on Fire is taking away music for beautiful images that are communicating so much. Great performances, which both of them are great performances, but and on top of it, it's taking away music for silence more than it is for talking. And I prefer when music's taken away that it be for silence rather than dialogue. Where dialogue, often I need the music to invest in the dialogue. Whereas like Fellini, even though he's famous for music, takes away music all the time. But he does it for silence. He doesn't take it away for the talking. He does it away for really strong silence.
Right. I've been saying this whole like podcast that I'm a story guy, and I am, but character is so much more important. I could watch characters that are great do anything. I could watch Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, like watch them go get groceries, like watch the Big Lebowski characters do their taxes. Like when the characters are great, I could watch them do anything. But if you have the best story ever told, and then it's just bland, forgettable, unlikable characters played by Sam Worthington, I'm not going to give a shit. So give me the characters over the other one. Wait. Oh yeah, you're an Avatar guy.
I thought that was intentional.
Yeah, I thought it was a dig.
Sam Worthington's just my go-to example of like an actor with no juice whatsoever. He has no screen presence, no movie star trait.
Him and Zoe Saldana, phenomenal performances in Avatar.
I think he's a little better in Way of Water, but he's just so bland.
100%.
Like you could cast, like there's the story about how they offered Matt Damon the role and he turned it down, even though he would have got 10% of the revenue. Like that Avatar would be so much better with Matt Damon. And Matt Damon's not even like a top tier actor. He's not Jake Gyllenhaal, Christian Bale, and he'd still be so much more like he has so much more of like a movie star trait to me than Sam Worthington. But that's
I think voice acting's a bit different though. I feel like what's the guy that plays Joel in Last of Us? Do you remember his name?
Oh, Joel.
And he does the Joker as well. Troy Baker.
Troy Baker.
Yeah, like he's like the best voice actor. He's not done anything of like actual acting. He's not like the best actor of all time, but I'd say he's probably the best voice actor for video games, or I don't know if he's done any movies. But that kind of like when they scan their bodies and stuff, he's one of the best ever to that. But I feel like it's a different form of acting.
But in Avatar 1, I feel like it's a lot of just Sam Worthington, and then the mocap stuff.
True, yeah, when he's in human form. I mean, I don't think he's like the best ever to do it, but I don't think it's a bad performance.
Now that I'm thinking about it, I don't remember Matt Damon ever being in an animated movie. I could be wrong, but I don't think he's ever done one.
Yeah, I can't either.
He probably would have been better. That's fair, but
he would have. And the same thing goes for Raimi. To this day, like I can't forgive Raimi for casting Tobey over Jake. Like that's insane.
No way.
Those movies.
Toby's
those
amazing.
movies.
No.
Jake would not be better than Tobey. Are you out of your mind? What are you talking about?
Do you specifically mean like him swapping in for Spider-Man 2?
Jake Gyllenhaal doesn't need to fit a character. He can play anything.
I don't care. Toby is perfect for that adaptation of the character.
You're just a fanboy. you know in your heart Jake Gyllenhaal is the more talented actor than Tobey. And
100%.
You probably just can't picture him replacing Tobey because you love Tobey so much and you love the movie so much.
No, I can't picture. I mean, like, around that time it would have been like Donnie Darko, like Jake Gyllenhaal. Like, I can't see that. Like, little emo kid, like playing Peter Parker.
That's just the role he was doing. He also did Bubble Boy.
I know.
He's a thespian. Like, he could do anything, and he's better than Tobey. Tobey, God bless his heart. I don't think I've ever seen a good performance by Tobey Maguire.
I've got to take. Tobey's had more good roles in the last 10 years than Jake Gyllenhaal has.
So, what drugs are you taking? That's it. He's been in Babylon. What? Babylon?
That's enough.
That's enough. Okay, last 10 years. So better than Nightcrawler.
No. After Nightcrawler.
Okay, Southpaw. Babylon's a better movie, but Jake Gyllenhaal is better.
It's Southpaw 2014.
Southpaw's 2015.
Okay, I mean, maybe not 8 years.
Are we talking about best movie or best role, best performance?
Anything.
For this argument, it should be best performance.
Okay, so
Babylon's
Stronger.
better anyway.
He's better in Stronger. He's better in fucking The Guilty. He's better.
Nope.
He's probably better in The Ambulance. And I don't even like Ambulance that much.
He's not been a good movie since 2018.
He's good in Far From Home. I don't care what anyone says. He's great in No Way Home. Far From Home.
He's all right.
Jake's worst performance is better than Tobey's best performance.
No way. What? Roadhouse is better than Spiderman. That's crazy.
That's pushing it, but I'll stick to it. I'll stick to it.
Or Brothers with Jake. Jake Gyllenhaal.
No,
that's a great performance.
I haven't seen Brothers actually. His worst movie's Velvet Buzzsaw, but he's fine. Like he does his job. It's just a shit movie.
I've not seen that.
Yeah, don't. It's awful.
Yeah, Tobey out-acts him in Brothers in 2009. So
I'll have to watch it just so I can disagree with you. Actually, I don't have to watch it. I disagree with you. It's not possible. And Tobey could never play what he plays in Okja. That's a performance in Okja. No.
I don't remember that standing out that much.
He doesn't
Babylon's
have that goofy side to him.
What? Babylon? That's so goofy.
That was just like gross.
Peter Parker's so goofy. Also, Tobey Maguire pretty much he got the bag with Spider-Man and like pretty much retired. It's not fair to compare
because he doesn't have that dog in him. He's not in love with the game like Jake.
Also a good point.
Yeah.
That is a good point.
Jake does it for the love of the game and the money. But Tobey just took his bag and ran.
And the money. Specifically the money now.
Yeah. The money second, but he's just a dog.
Jake needs to get a new agent. Or maybe it's him.
All my favorite actors need to get new agents, dude. What the fuck? Ryan Gosling, Jake Gyllenhaal, Christian Bale. Like, Ryan, dude, like, my boy. Come on. Like, where's Place Beyond the Pines and Drive? Like, give me that shit again. Mm-hmm. Like, I'm excited for Project Hail Mary because the book's incredible, but like The Gray Man, The Fall Guy, just not. He's good, but like, I don't want him in action movies. I want him in dramas, or The Nice Guys too. Mm-hmm. But I'll end my rant there.
Did I tell you I get Nice Guys in theaters in a few weeks?
I'm coming to Philly.
Should
I tell you that? So you never seen it, or you have?
Never seen it. First time.
Your life's about to change. Remember what you said about only crying once?
Mm-hmm.
It's about to change.
All right, I'll hold you to that. I do got to get out of here, though. It's been a very fun conversation.
Yes, sir.
Mm-hmm.
Great episode. Cash, thank you for coming on.
No problem. Thanks for having me.
And like, subscribe, comment down below which take infuriated you the most. Please let us know what your hottest take is. We will be back next week with another episode. Thanks for watching.